Welcome to the Reckoning podcast, where we stoke a campfire, gather around, and have real-life conversations with old friends, new friends, professionals, and just shoot the shit. Reckoning all things from hunting, outdoors, beauty, entrepreneurship, relationships, life, and more. It's all just a reckoning. My BFF, Nicole, whom on Friday, the morning before the hunt started, was on her way from Montana. I sent her directions, step-by-step directions, and I thought for sure, just because it's so desolate out there, I was like, I'm gonna have to go find her. Not anything against you, just like the way history has gone bringing people out there. And sure enough, I'm like getting ready to go hang up signs, and Cody's like, Britt, and here comes this sexy ass little white SUV bebopping her way down. And it's my friend Nicole, whom I've never met in person, which is so wild.
So crazy.
And my kids were giggling because I'm not a hugger. I'm not like
me.
But I was so fucking giddy to see you and just like finally get to embrace you. So Nicole and I finally got to meet in person, and this baddie drove all the way from Montana to come support me on the hunt. And you guys have heard from her before because she's come on and helped through my bear hunt, kind of host that. And she's come on with her own little episode, which honestly, Nicole continues to do really well. Empowered women. Yeah. Yes. And we met through, oddly enough, your husband, David, who came on the podcast. It's been years now.
Yes.
And I mentioned that because he was kind enough. You're a baddie behind in these mountains, too. Sometimes you're like a little bit behind the scenes. And you know how to run that fancy-ass camera and get those sweet-ass shots that you get of David. And you offered to come bring your camera, help me on the hunt, and just kind of let us hunt, do our thing. And you were just going to capture it as it went. And so that was Friday. You came in, we got you settled, and then it's the day before the hunt. You got to go scout.
Yeah.
So we headed out scouting. I don't think we saw anything.
I don't think
that
we saw
evening. I was kind of like, welcome to the buffalo hunt. There's no buffalo.
Yeah.
So you met Nicole. But I also had a group of
Hang on. Back to meeting Nicole.
Okay.
This is well
I knew this was coming up.
This is well before we met Nicole. That
this explains you perfectly.
I was informed that I came with a warning label.
Mm-hmm. So are you going to give that disclaimer now for the audience?
Yeah.
Who informed you?
You did. You called me and you said, hey, just so you know, like, best behavior because you're who you are. And I was kind of upset about that because Jeremy didn't get a warning. How come he didn't get a warning label?
He's professional.
And I'm not?
Yeah.
Pretty sure I'm professional. But I came in warning label for the audience on this one.
Would you give you a warning label if you were me?
Yes.
Okay. Fair's fair.
Valid.
So there's your fair warning label. We have Rendell Newman in studio.
Yeah. But no, even backing up prior to that, like we had talked about going out since we knew you drew.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys had already been pretty familiar with the area and hunted the area a lot. I'd been out there. I think I'd been out there twice in my life, like not very much. But we had talked about opening weekend and plan of attack, and like it was exciting because it was like, okay, like be out there opening weekend, come help pack out a buffalo.
Yeah. And
so it was different that way, and different expectations, especially once we were out there hunting that morning.
Yeah. And there was nothing up by where we were because we had expected them to be higher in the unit, which is always what they've been that time of year. And 2 weeks before that, when we were scouting, we were like in the thick of them. Like I was sending you pictures being like, oh yeah, this is a done deal. Like,
right.
We told everybody like, better be there opening weekend or you're going to miss out.
Yeah.
And that's why I did come, I think, opening weekend too. Cause I'm like, they're there. They're right there. Like she's going to go and just smack one day one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were sending me videos from the weekend before that it's like,
great bulls.
Everywhere you turn, there was a great bull.
Roomed off bulls.
Mm-hmm.
Great bulls.
Everywhere. And so when we got out there, especially opening weekend, like my perception was like, you guys sure you didn't pull them videos off Google?
Right.
Like it was tough for me because not ever hunting buffalo before, seeing them in the wild, but not ever like actually hunting them. Like I was like, okay, like where are they?
Let's just drive down the road and shoot one.
Yeah, and very, very naive to what the hunt was actually, how it was going to go.
So were we.
Yeah.
All the scouting meant nothing.
Yeah. No, and by the time the hunt came around, like
changed so fast.
Yeah. Within a week, everything had changed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The first day scouting was beautiful scenery. All the canyons, pretty Utah. That was incredible to see. No bison though.
Yeah, no bison. You got a lay of the land a little bit, which was good. Yeah, and then it's, go to bed. I had to take a slumber gummy because I was getting it. It's like Christmas.
Yeah.
Going to bed before opening morning. And then opening morning hits, and we had a group of, let's see, we'll shout out everybody. There was you, Daryl, Jeremy, and was that our group so far just for opening morning? Yeah. I think so.
But we got out there and opening morning, Jeremy had spotted that group of 12 or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
young bull and a bunch of cows.
Yeah, and we stayed in that area. And so it was just more trying to find them and what canyon are they going to be in. Not
necessarily those ones though.
No, not necessarily those ones, but because those were in the area, it was expected that we'd see a lot more in the area. And that wasn't the reality.
It was a drop in the bucket compared to what we saw.
Yeah. I mean, the videos you were sending me the week before, you're videoing a group of 50. Yeah. And so it was like, sweet, let's just go out there and stick one with an arrow and go from there.
We were so naive. We're going to pick they're going to be in the middle of a mesa. We're going to hunt them only here. We're only going to hunt a bull here. This is how we're going to do it. We picked our spot. Yeah. If they're at the edge of a canyon rim, we're not going to hunt them. If they're in the middle of a mesa, we're going to hunt them.
And so it was kind of, again, just kind of relocating the bison on Saturday opening morning.
I wasn't with Jeremy that opening morning when he had saw those. And because I didn't get out there till later that afternoon opening day.
You weren't there yet.
Mm-mm. And so when I did finally get out there, like I kind of spent my time driving around until I met up with you guys that evening. But for me, like I spent time just kind of glassing and poking around. And honestly, I was just waiting for a text saying, hey, bull down.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely different than what I expected.
Us too. Kept opening day. We covered, I don't know, 40, 50 miles.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Of area we'd seen buffalo in multiple situations.
Yeah.
We'd kind of looked off into some areas that morning where we had seen bison before. We had heard people saying a couple days prior to that they were off feeding down into the green. Lower, just really trying to get water because at this point the water was like bare minimum.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of August. We hadn't had a lot of rain. So we were really trying to locate where are they going to water. And so we were looking down into those canyons.
Not even a fresh sign. Like we covered all this country. They hadn't been in there since we'd last seen them a week ago.
Yeah.
There's still some beef in there, but no buffalo. And midday, opening day, I glassed up.
The bear that Koop shot. It was a good bear.
Glassed up a good bear. Big, like I glassed past it the first time and thought there's just a cow down in the bottom of this open meadow. Glassed up the canyon, glassed around, glassed the cliffs, glassed the mesas, looked around, and these guys were over glassing 100 yards away from me. I just kind of walked around the point to glass, get a different vantage, and I started glassing back, and I'm like, oh, there's that cow again, like right in the bottom. And it turned to the right and started kind of going up the hill. And I'm like, that's a freaking bear. 440. I mean, I sprinted. Dust kicking up.
And all of a sudden he comes running by. And I'm like, what? Like expecting something. And he yells, bear, bear, there's a bear. And you're kind of like, why the fuck are you running from a bear?
Yeah, well, it was that like the smile on his face too. Like it turned in from a bison hunt to a bear hunt, just like that, and everybody's scrambling. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I ran right by them, got Koop out of the truck, got the rifle out of the truck, like big black bear.
Yeah.
And go cruising back down, set up. What was it, like 1,700 yards I ranged from there?
Yeah.
I went down. We couldn't turn it up. I went further around the point trying to get a different vantage, and they started hollering at me, we got it. So I come back, ranged it. I think it was, 1,700 yards or whatever. I'm like, we got to get closer. So we pack up, jump in the truck, drive a mile up the road. 1,700 yards, that's a mile. We drive a mile or mile and a half up the road, park, jump out, try and cut it off, drop down the canyon, mad scramble, drop off, try and cut it off, looking around. Me and Koop are looking where we last saw it, or a couple hundred yards up. And Britt, she's like, there it is. We're like, where? We're trying to look at the bottom, like, he's got to be right here somewhere. And she's like, up there where the two canyons split. And we're like, what the? We look up there, and it's going up the right canyon. It's like, holy, it's another 1,100 yards. Like,
yeah. How do you close a mile and still be
1,100 yards behind it?
3/4 of a mile away? Like,
yeah, kind of like buffalo. You watch buffalo, and it's like, oh, they're big, dumb, and slow. But when they feed. Like, they just move.
Yeah, they move.
And so there's so much urgency. And it fed around a canyon. There's no roads, no nothing. Like, it was gone that day.
Which is so funny. I don't know that you were like expecting to be coming on a bear hunt on the
Not at all.
hunt.
But honestly, like the joy on Koop's face and like the determination of everybody involved, and then the terrain. I was like, wait a minute, holy crap. Because I wasn't expecting that at all. Oh my God, these cliffs. And seeing that bear so far away, I'm like, there's no way this kid is going to shoot that bear. But hey, Cooper has blown me away with his skills from what I've heard. But yeah, like I can't, like, but for me, being there and filming it, that moment was so, like, it made me so nervous because I don't want to miss a moment. I had a whole plan in my head of how this was going to go. I had all my gear, running it to get the camera, not forget any gigs, any little gigabyte things. It was crazy, but I'm so glad I was able to capture everybody's reaction. I mean, he didn't shoot it, but that whole like build up was so intense and had me sweating. And so did the terrain. I'm like, trying to keep up with you guys is like, that was a trip.
Oh, yeah. I was impressed. We were highly impressed with you because, like, I think as a family, we're mountain goats, but then you also add in Cody's long ass legs. Yeah. And I are on like the shorter side. And so it's like trying to keep up with his strides sometimes. I gotta crawl.
One of Cody's, I'm like, camera too, and like not to slip down this like big ass canyon.
Oh my
that
gosh.
Was intense.
Yeah. Every time you'd hand me the camera, I was like, baby. Nobody touched me.
Yeah, it was so nerve-wracking, but
that was really exciting, and it was fun, like I said, to come back after the hunt and look back on those memories because everything kind of turns into such a blur. It is worth every penny, every moment, because it was so cool to go back and look at, like, just to see it happen as a family and watch everybody interact. It's like you get that outside perspective of like hovering outer body experience, watching everything.
And then the verbiage between all of you guys was my favorite part.
Yeah.
That, to be honest with you, and like watching you guys in the moment, Cody with Kooper and you right there with Rivers, and everybody's so amped on it, and just the verbiage, like the conversations that are going on. You don't think to capture that.
No, that's what's
still, but it's in that moment, there's too much going on and there's too much anxious energy where you're like, forget it. I don't care. I just want to live in this moment. So I'm really glad I was there to capture that for you guys.
Me too. Those are things I will cherish forever, especially, you know, as they get older and stuff. It's like they change so quickly. Like I will always cherish listening to their little voices or the conversations that we had, or maybe even just memories that were taught between us to them and them to us. Yeah. So that was awesome. So that was Saturday. It was just like being totally hyped up about this bear. And after that, Kooper was like, have fun on your, I'm going
Yeah.
I'm going to go glass with Jeremy and Rendell for bison, but also we're going to go hunt that bear.
I'm so he's such a cool kid, man. I can't. He blew me away. Like his determination for that bear too. Like we didn't see him basically the rest of the trip at all, except for at nighttime. You know.
Yeah, it was cool, and that is the bear that he ended up getting, which is so cool. So he stuck with it, and he got that bear, which is awesome.
With you seeing that and Jeremy seeing the small herd that he saw that morning, that kind of set the tone and gave us the idea of what to do for the next day. And that's why we stuck in that area. Yeah.
The buffalo hunt too. And I was telling Nicole this because a lot of times you see us out like hiking and like, you kind of have to shift your mindset on certain hunts too, the way in which you hunt animals. And a lot of it when you're in such large country, like there's 1.2 million acres out there.
Yeah.
When you're trying to relocate an animal, like it's a lot of miles of going from one spot to the other, you know, in your vehicle, and then also just hours and hours of glassing.
Right.
And that's really what it was. And I was kind of starting to be like, God damn it, Nicole's here and you haven't seen a bison like out in the wild except for Yellowstone, right?
Right. Or like a bison farm.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, Yellowstone, they're free range, but you know, they're right
protected.
There. And then my idea of them was that too, like how they act in Yellowstone. I was thinking that's how they were going to be in Utah, which, you know, that's just my lack of knowledge, I guess. But I was assuming they were just kind of like cows, like they just don't care. You could walk right up to them, basically. That's how they are here in Montana. So coming to Utah and them being like so hard to find, like they run away, you know, and you'll never see them. That blew me away. That was crazy to me.
Yeah.
And that was very unexpected, the behavior of the animal, which made this hunt wildly difficult.
Yeah. I think the archery hunt surprised all of us in the difficulty because so many times with the rifle hunt too, it's like you can get just close enough to not spook them, but then like, you know, cutting that extra distance is really what does it.
But that next day, when we all split up and you guys went quite a bit further north from where me and Jeremy were.
A lot north.
Yeah. I mean, you guys were what, 30 miles away from us?
25, yeah.
Yeah. And so we decided to stay in that area and glass all the canyons and see if we could turn anything up.
Where the buffalo had been.
Yeah, where they had been. And where he'd seen the small, nothing to shoot, but small herd that opening morning. Thinking, okay, they're probably still in there. We just got to find them.
And more, you would think.
Yeah.
From scouting.
Yeah. But between the ones that he saw and that bear being in there, like it was a good opportunity to find buffalo and get on buffalo, but also still have a chance at a bear.
Yeah.
But that second day, I mean, me and Jeremy and Koop, all we did was drive and glass and drive and glass and drive and glass and like turned up a lot of cool animals, but we didn't turn up a buffalo that whole day. Yeah. And like it's not like we were just like cruising around road hunting. Like we were trying to find animals.
We were in the same boat. We were headed to a different area to look.
We might as well go to like our more usual stomping ground. And that's when we decided let's actually go lower versus higher where we were and kind of see if that's changed anything. So we ended up going lower and taking Nicole. It was kind of like a last minute decision too as we were going there.
Sure. We honestly we were driving around all day too. So it was kind of more of like, well, we're just going to go here and kind of like take Nicole around and show her this cool homestead and this cool canyon that we've been to and we camp at and we love. It was more of like letting go and just enjoying the moment and having an adventure that we decided to go over there. Right.
Yeah. I remember we were like getting ready. We were going to go kind of down by like where our normal camp is. And we always talk about, this being like our favorite canyon. And as we were talking about it, Cody's like, well, it has petroglyphs of sheep. Like we have David Martinez's wife here that like sheep, you know, like we have to. And I remember it was like should we like as soon as you could turn to go down the canyon. So we headed down there and you got to go see the homestead that we're always talking about and take a look at the petroglyphs, which is so cool to get a glimpse into history.
Yeah. That was the coolest little place. It felt cool too. The energy of the homestead and getting to see this like untouched little treasure in time with the petroglyphs was wild. Because I've never even been to Utah either. So this was like a tourist vacation for me.
Yeah.
I was filming your hunt, but I was like, oh my gosh, everywhere. Yeah.
No, I can't imagine them living in that canyon at that time too. So we got to look at that. And as we were hopping back in the truck, kind of just shooting the shit, you know, at this point we're doing touristy shit. Like, yeah, we're looking for buffalo. We can see them at any point, but like at this day, we might as well just kind of ride around, enjoy, and see if we can relocate them at the same time as showing Nicole around. And I'm kind of talking because this is a canyon that on my dad's rifle hunt was in the end of November. We had seen plenty of buffalo there before. And so I was familiar with the kind of canyons that they would hang out in. And as we had like barely left the homestead, and I'm telling Nicole, like, a canyon like this right around the corner is like where we'll see something. And just as I finished saying it, you looked over, right?
Right. And I was like, holy shit, there's bison. Literally, as this conversation is happening and we're driving away. And I think we even said, like, we're just having fun and watch us see bison. Like,
yeah,
watch.
We did. Uh-huh.
And literally, like, as it came out of your mouth or mine, I can't remember whose it was. But we look over, there's 2 bison just like roaming over there.
Yeah, just doing their thing, which is so crazy. And I do remember like Cody was kind of teaching you the difference because there is so much cattle out there too. Like being able to decipher from a distance what is buffalo and what is cattle. Right. And so when I was looking back at footage, he's asking me like, see, did you see the difference? Like they're a little more reddish brown versus black. And you're like, yeah, like when I saw it. Like you just immediately know. So, and sure enough, so that was finally, I was like, yes, Nicole gets to see buffalo. We're on the buffalo hunt. There is nothing better too than like getting to do your first stalk. Like it is on. And from what we could see, there was only a few of them. But again, you're in these ravine canyons. There's also where it cuts down into like wash, where like the flash floods will come through. So you never know, they could be feeding down in those washes and then along the canyon lines.
There's a lot of like heavy bushes in there too. Like I don't remember if it was sagebrush or just like those puffy trees. I don't know what kind of trees they are, but you know, they camouflage in there really good.
Yeah, they do. It's crazy. There's a lot of like the cedar, and then down inside of like the washes, there's a lot of sagebrush.
Yeah.
But it is crazy how such a big animal can camouflage so well.
So well, and be quiet as a mouse.
He's hopping behind me. Yeah, and they're so quiet.
They're like, so quiet.
You would think they were these big dumb animals, and they're stealthy.
Yeah.
So that was when we decided we might as well go make a stalk on them. We didn't see anything that was like standing out, but again, we don't know what else there could be. So we decided, let's get the first stalk under our belt. Like, let's just get in there and see how close we can get. And if there's something in there, then great, we make a shot. If not, then we can back out. We know, keep that kind of in our back pocket. And so that was our first stalk, which was always good to go through a little run through, because by this point I was probably a little more lax with my bow, because trying to get that out was a nightmare. I'm like, okay, noted, my bow will be front and center like it always is.
Yeah, because you're like, why did I do that?
I'm like, what?
It's again, like in the moment, it's all happening so fast and you're ready and prepared, but fine-tune.
Yeah, I fine-tuned very quickly from there. Got on my sheep feet, stealth bombers, and then it was go time, which was really exciting, and really learning kind of how to stalk the animal, because we had never, like I said, gotten to where we were archery hunting them in the past. So we made that first stalk, and you know, as archery hunting goes, the wind likes to play you dirty, but I feel like it was a really great first stalk. I honestly thought we were going to come nose to nose with those. When we had to like drop down into the ravine, and they were up on the other side, and I for sure thought at one, I remember like looking back at you like, you ready?
Right there.
Yeah. And they weren't, which is so crazy, because it's not like we ever heard them run off either.
And then there was, I mean, the canyons were heavy bush, but outside of the canyons, it was not. Like you could see a good amount of, you know, land ahead of you. So coming to the canyon, you're like, wait a minute, what? And then
just left them there.
And we, you know, where the hell they went, I have no idea. But those just
sneaky little buggers. Yeah, they feed so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that herd had I had 2 cows and 1 small bull. And we kind of had talked about it before we had gotten too close. Like, I'm not really interested in this bull, but again, I don't know what else is there. And Cody and I had talked, like, let's make a stock and just feel confident in fine tuning everything, like Nicole said. And it was a great learning experience. So I think we ended up following them like a mile down the canyon before we realized there really wasn't anything else with them. And by that point, they were too far. It wasn't what I was after the second day of the hunt. Right. So we backed out, and we were excited because it was like, hell yes, now we're in it. We're in the buffalo hunt. It felt good to finally get on buffalo.
Adrenaline is pumping. We're pumped up now. We're ready.
Yeah, we're ready.
Also, because I remember even saying to you, for selfish reasons, I'm like, let's just fucking go. Let's do this. I'm here. Let's just get the cow. Go for it. And you being, no, I'm going for a bull, Nicole. It's day 1. No. Or day 2.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I'm like, oh, man, okay, bye. But then,
I know.
When you were glassing, like you had said prior, a couple weeks before, there was hundreds, and you've seen so many. So, you know, in my head, I'm like, come on, let's go. And you're like, no, I know there's a bull out there for me. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it is funny because I was watching that footage again, and I can hear you and Cody, and you're like, will she shoot a cow? He's like, no. I'm like, you bitches are talking behind my back.
I'm like, come on.
No, let's do it. But you're right. At that point, because we had, again, seen a few, I think we'd seen like 4 different herds, and each herd had several different decent bulls in them. Like, it just felt like the second day of the hunt, like, I have weeks to hunt. Like, I have plenty of time to get in and figure it out. Yeah. And it was just fun at that point to be able to like get in and like, now I'm actually hunting, because for the longest time we'd just been watching them. So that was Sunday, and
that's when we all decided to go further north, because we weren't seeing anything anywhere where we were.
No.
But you guys had turned up those buffalo that you put a stock on that day.
Few day old sign.
Yeah.
They've moved.
Right.
And then Monday was your last full day hunting with us. And so we were like, we got to make something work. Hopefully we find something. Same thing. We decided to go down to the lower area because, you know, we had seen buffalo, might as well go there. Everybody else that had tags was still hunting up higher from what we knew at this point. So it just felt like we might as well break it up and go lower.
And they hadn't seen anything either.
Right. So I'm like, let's go where we've seen buffalo.
Yeah.
Let's head to winter ground in August.
Right?
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, so weird. So that's when we headed down there. You guys went out.
Yeah, because we went out. You guys kind of went more to the west, and we stayed more to the east.
We went to one of our other spots that we've always been able to like glass out over. Granted, this is usually in the springtime / first part of summer, maybe like winter. We can see buffalo this way, and now we're in August and we're glassing there. But leave it to Cody. He was able to spot bison like 4 miles out there in his binos. Mm-hmm. Which always amazes me that he can find these little dots.
Right. It's like animal eyes. Like they were made to hunt.
They were.
And they're hard to and they blend. They just are so hard to find, you know?
Yeah. I think what's tricky too is it's like out there you've got a lot of plateaus, and then you also have like a rolling of the land. So you can see them at one moment, and then the next it rolls just enough to where they disappear for a while and then back up, or either that they just drop off into a canyon. So he ended up spotting those far away. We got the spotter out on him, was trying to get an idea because they were so far away. At that point, it's like bringing up your onyx, trying to figure out, okay, where am I? Where could they be? So that way we can let the other guys, they were out that way too, know maybe where they could come spot for us. So that way, again, because they can move so quickly like that and they can disappear, someone was spotting and letting us know if they had moved
and what
one
direction
way or the other, and what direction. So we finally were able to kind of get an idea. Cody kept being like, when we were trying to all find, we're like, where the hell are you looking? He's like, find the field that looks like a vagina.
Oh, got it.
Got it. Immediately. Bison in the vagina. Thanks, Cody.
Vagina Canyon or Vagina Hill.
Great. But listen, whatever works.
And so when you guys did turn up that herd you found, I mean, we'd been glassing all over the place and glassing different canyons, but then you guys gave us a call and you'd said you'd turn some up. And it turns out when you had spotted those and where we were, we really weren't too far from where the buffalo actually were. We were probably closer to the buffalo than you guys were.
Yeah, I think so.
But just where we were, like, obviously we weren't spotting them from there.
Line distance on Onyx, it was like 6.5 miles.
Yeah. And for us, we were probably only 3 miles away line distance. And so we decided to go meet. We were going to go meet.
I'm going to meet up with us so we could leave a spotter and get over and try and get on them.
Yeah. We were going to leave you where we were.
Mm-hmm. And so we were hauling over to that area. And when we were hauling over to see you guys is when we had kind of turned a corner and the buffalo you guys were glassing were right there. Yeah. And I can't remember. I want to say that we called you guys right after and you guys started making your way towards us thinking we'd saw the same herd.
Yeah. Because you weren't quite sure. Right before we decided, I know where that's at. Yeah. I know where the road is. We got to go.
Yeah. Because when you called us, you weren't 100% sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
I thought they were further north than they actually were.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't think they were right off the road like that.
And so when we were coming over, we were thinking we were going to replace where you guys were so you guys could put a stock on them. Right. And so we came over past them and then just met you guys a couple miles down the road from where they actually were and put together the game plan then. At that point, like, we were all excited. We were like, yeah, this is going down now.
Everybody's here.
Like,
there's some big bulls in there.
This is over. Like, hunts, let's go poke it and be done. Like,
I was sure of it.
I mean, even Rivs was super stoked. I mean, he was thumbs up in, like, Mom's getting a buffalo. Again, it like reignites that flame inside of you, right? That's just like, buffalo. So we were able to meet up with them and kind of make a game plan. We had expected that they had crossed the buffalo that we had found, and they just kept driving, and they kind of gave us a lay of like, okay, this is for sure where they are when you guys go up there. So it was fun. We dropped the kids off with the other guys. Me, Cody, and Nicole hopped in with Jeremy, and Jeremy drove us up to where we thought they would be. That herd that we saw in the vagina, we hiked and hiked. And so hiked. It was at that point where we had met up, we decided to go back about where you guys were glassing from so that we could spot you guys stalking in, because where we were, we weren't going to see them anywhere close right there. And so
if they go over the ridge, they're gone.
And when we got to that point, I don't even think I had the cover off the spotting scope yet, and Rivs is sitting down there watching, saying he's got him in the scope.
Weird.
Big stories.
And me and Daryl and Koop, Rivs could turn them up, but no, the rest of us couldn't turn it up.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And we just felt like we were freaking wandering.
We thought we were right.
And then, but we just never ran into him at that point.
Yeah.
Which was crazy.
And like, we didn't really see any sign either, which was also something I noticed, because I'm like, okay, a herd that big, this is where they were, but there was no sign or like any way to track them. Or like, well, coming back, actually, we got into this like sagebrush kind of looking, not a canyon, but I'm not sure what you would call it, like a divot. I don't know.
Yeah. Just like a draw.
And part of me, I was like, they're laying in here, they're hiding in these bushes, because we saw some sign over there. But man, they just vanished.
40 buffalo, how did they cross without us noticing?
Well, and that's something, again, like, never hunting buffalo before. That was different for me. Like, I've hunted with you quite a bit.
42,000-pound animals have got to leave a track.
And to me, it's like, seriously, like, how do they not, like, how are you not able to get on their track? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, I know there's old track, I know there's new track, I know there's fresh track and everything in there, but like, how are you guys not seeing this herd of like 50 or 60 buffalo in there? That how are you guys really not coming across their sign? And you guys are like, no.
And it's like, obvious.
Yeah.
Oregon Trail just turned up.
It's like cattle. But there was nothing.
But from the time that we passed them in the truck where we met you guys at to the time that you guys would have been back up into the area to get on them, it wasn't 25 minutes.
No, 30 minutes max.
That was quick.
Yeah.
And they moved 2 miles?
Yeah, and the fact that you guys got up there and aren't seeing anything, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me.
And then when you guys glassed us up, and you guys are half a mile past where they were.
Yeah. And we had confusion there because we're sitting there like, we're like, no, you guys aren't in the right area. And like thinking there's like no way if they would have been anywhere, we should have been able to see them from where we were.
Right.
And so we ended up coming back and meeting at the truck, and like spirits were a little bit more down there because it was like, how do these 4,000-pound creatures just disappear?
Yeah.
Like,
it was bizarre. And we didn't even know what like direction to head.
Yeah. And I think we were all questioning our sanity. Like, did we really?
Are they just back in a hidey hole? Did they double back on us? Where'd they go?
Well, and they couldn't, because I had driven up and down that road while Koop took a nap in the back and looked for a sign that maybe they had crossed the road the other way. And it was like, there's for sure no sign that they went this way. Because, I mean,
especially what we learned later in the hunt of fresh tracks over tracks.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, like we talked about, like the track and being hard to find in that area, but it also kind of rained that night before that the ground was wet. Like the ground was fresh enough that we should have seen some sort of track if they had crossed the road. I mean, it didn't rain hard enough to erase everything, but it had rained hard enough that we should have been on fresh track when we were on track. And so when we came back up after we got done glassing and like everything was down, we met up again. It was kind of like, all right, where do we go from here?
And that was like a middle of the day walkabout in the desert, and that was a hot one. It was hot, and you're in full camo. It was hot. So we ended up meeting up with them, and we're like, well, I have no idea where they went. Why don't we go, this way? Let's see if they're this way.
Took a break, got some water, because I remember sitting in the truck like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna take my shirt off.
I know, we did. We were like, activate sports bras. Like, it is too hot for this shit.
It was really hot, but we weren't just walking. We were like fast walking. We were trying to walk as fast as possible. Didn't put a pack on. We didn't bring water. We didn't bring snacks. Got out of the car and we're like, see ya later.
Bye, let's go kill a buffalo. Yeah. The first 30 minutes you're like not worried about it, and then you're realizing like we're getting farther and farther and not seeing anything.
But I'm gonna keep going though, because I'm determined to find them.
For sure. But as soon as the truck comes, you're like, okay, I need a water and I need to cool down.
And what are we gonna do now? And we had kind of decided that we would keep going back out to the west, back out to the main road. Then
we decided to head out and go drive down, and like maybe they went this way. We might as well see. Like there's buffalo somewhere right here, but like where did they go? And as we were driving, Nicole's got her eyes honed in.
I'm like determined.
Yeah.
Because it was the last day too.
Yeah, it was your last day with me.
Yeah. Like I'm gonna get this on video for her, I swear to God.
Yeah. So we're driving, still trying to recover from this freaking brutal hot walkabout power walk. And all of a sudden you were like, there's a fucking buffalo. But I was just like really excited. I'm like, she is on it. Like I remember Cody being like, yeah, Nicole found the buffalo. Just super stoked. So sure enough, we found where they ran to. They were just hanging out. And so we backed up.
And then it wasn't 15 minutes after we split up that we got a call from you. Hey, they're right here.
They're right out the side of the road to the north.
Yeah.
And so the emotions, I mean, they went from we're going to kill a buffalo to where the heck, like, are there even buffalo here?
Back up. Yeah.
We're going to kill a buffalo again. Like your excitement, just a roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
Of the highest buffalo of highs and the lowest of lows. Like it was crazy.
It's buffalo period.
Yeah.
And so
you can go from 0 to hero in 30 seconds.
Oh yeah. And then back at the top of that mountain to the lowest of lows of like, what are we doing? And it had already been kind of,
what do we know about buffalo?
Yeah.
Everything we think we know, we're just getting our butts kicked.
And it had already been kind of frustrating from the day before to, not seeing anything.
From seeing 200 plus scouting the week before.
Yeah.
Which just made it that much more confusing. But when you called back and you're like, oh, they're right here. Like we hurry and flip around and get back to where you guys are and like kind of come in coasting, coming in slow, and made that plan that you, Nicole, and Cody were all going to break up and go put a stalk on them. And we're thinking, cool. Like, and me and Jeremy are sitting back in timeout with Daryl and the like
A-team on the bench.
Yeah, the A-team's on the bench. And we're like, gosh, if you want to kill something, you got to send us with. And
that much more noise. Okay.
Right. And the best part about it is later on that day when Rivers asked you guys, why'd you leave the A-team on the bench?
Yeah, he did when we got back. We were like,
we got in them though. Like we were 48 yards.
Yeah.
48 yards, and Nicole's like, take your fucking pick. Like they're just walking by us. Like,
one thing I've learned from this hunt too was like they are in a huge herd. So, you know, there's 3 of us walking and we're trying to be as quiet as possible, but there was like 50 to 70 bison over there. There was a lot of, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was like a huge herd. So you're trying to be as quiet as possible, but there's like 100 eyes on you, you know, and ears. So
yeah, that's what I was telling Cody at the beginning. Like when we first started seeing the buffalo, the realization had come to me like, oh my gosh, I'm archery hunting, but the one I might want might be right in the middle. And then you have, like you said, that many more eyes, ears, and noses on you. Like it adds a whole other element. Like they're not broken off by themselves.
Right.
In this instance. So you're totally right. Like it always seems like there would be 1 or 2 that would catch on, and then those ones would let the rest know and take off.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We dropped down, we played the wind, slowly started making our way to them. We were making a pretty good stalk, even though it was pretty loud. I feel like the wind was really working in our favor for a minute. And on that stalk was the first time.
Thunder and lightning, remember?
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't raining on us, but in the distance, there was really loud thunder.
Yeah, there was. Because I was wondering, like, oh, are we going to get caught in this? Like, it went from super hot to like, ooh.
A storm. Yeah.
Yeah, this might suck. But that was the first moment, like getting closer and closer. We were finally, you know, getting in on them. I'd say we were probably like 50 to 100 yards away. I remember all of a sudden hearing that growl of the buffalo.
Roaring bar.
Yeah.
And being like, holy shit.
I think I got that on. Did you listen?
You did. Yeah. You got it. Yeah. I'll have to make a reel with it and put on because... And I just like when it happens, it's funny too because you captured my face being like, oh, like
the bulls are just freaking pushing and going hard. Like
me and Jeremy just sitting in timeout. Yeah, and back to that frustration, like a rifle hunt, you're just waiting for the anticipation of hearing the shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's like me and Jeremy sitting there like we can't even hear a shot. Like we want to go peek around the corner, but we don't want to spook them if they're still there. And so we're just sitting there like, just time out. Like me and Jerry.
Is there one dead? Are they tracking it? Are they still hunting one?
Are they going to pack it out by themselves? Like, what are we doing here? Because at that point, like with how frustrated I was sitting in timeout for no reason, I was going to make you pack it out yourself. I didn't even care.
Okay. Of course you were. We'll sit right here.
Me and Jeremy would have sat there and watched.
There Rendell was with his backpack packing a buffalo out.
And you can hear him at that point. We're getting closer. And this was, I think, really exciting in this stalk because we were getting close enough that we could hear them breathing and moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So this was definitely the closest we had been to them. But yeah, we had kind of just gotten to where we got up on them. And I think one of them had kind of looked up and our wind had switched and got just enough of us that took one of them and all of them took off.
Yeah.
And it kind of was just that back and forth, like cat and mouse game for probably like 10 or 15 minutes where they'd finally slow down. We'd get caught up to them again. And just as we'd get caught up to them, kind of making our way into them, they'd get in a really thick cedar bush. So it'd make it hard to like get a clear shot on anything and also be able to decipher what's what. And then as we just get close enough to like feel like, okay, now we can get in and maybe sit here and wait, the wind would shift and then they would take off again. So that one was just really like another grinder where I felt like we just kept chasing them, which was frustrating, like you said. And then at that point we had thunder and lightning happening behind us. And then I got to a point where they had taken off like a stampede, and we thought we were following them one way, and we just never did catch up with them or could find them, which is crazy.
Right. Like you could see their footprints of the stampede too. We did find that. Yeah. And then after that, it's like disappeared as soon as it hit the other side.
Yeah. They like dove off into a canyon, and once they got down there, like it's just so thick. It's like you're not gonna, you can sit and track them and track them and track them, but like, are you just gonna keep pushing them at this point?
Right.
At this point in the hunt, it's like we were still learning the buffalo and like what it was they did. So
right. And we did try to drive. We walked back to the car. Hiked back to the car. Dead silence. Everybody's silent. I'll never forget that. We were all like, fuck.
Yeah, it was, because it felt so hopeful so many times in that little stock session.
That's hunting, and that's why it's so hard, but that's why it's so rewarding too, because you try and try. But yeah, that was
because when you guys stalked them and they started moving and you guys kept with them, I mean, you came back and you put on what, like 7 miles?
It was a
lot.
It was 6
and we'd already done like
probably
3 before that, doing the other ones.
Like,
and that was a hot day.
That was hot.
First time trying to get on them.
Time.
Yeah, that was hot. I mean, it was
gnarly.
It was
like
shorts and
12 miles.
t-shirt weather.
Yeah,
because the first time I think we did 6.
Yeah.
Then we got back from the other one, I think it was 7.
Yeah.
Tracking them down through and watching them.
And like Nicole says, we just bell out with camera and bow and a phone and like no water.
$2,500 worth of optics and tripod in the trees off the side of the road.
Trying to just keep up with them.
Yeah. Because like, again, being very naive and very new to buffalo, like I'm thinking, how are you guys like not on them? Yeah. Like they're buffalo.
They're big, dumb, and slow.
Yeah. It's not like they're going to,
you would think.
It's not like they're moving fast and getting out of there. Like, how are you guys not on them?
They move quicker than you think, even feeding though.
Yeah.
Buffalo look like a herd, looks slow feeding. They actually move a lot as they're grazing.
They just cover ground and they don't really ever stop. They just keep going and feed and keep going and feed, which made it that much more difficult. We came to find out.
They just wait. I'm like, if I come back with my arms pumping and stuff, like, just know. If my arms aren't woohooing, then like, that's a sign, like, no go. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it right now. So that was interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of like a bummer. Just sit there, like,
just stand there too. They were there for a good amount of time, just waiting. I totally forgot. And as we walked up, I was like, oh my God, they've been waiting here this whole time. Like, we're right where we left them.
Yep.
We're walking up and seeing them all like,
yeah. How did it go? What happened? And then having to replay it. And again, that was, because I don't even think we had recovered really from that first stalk. And then going into that other one. And then that was that. Then Nicole was getting ready to load her stuff up and eat dinner. And and then it was headed back to camp really after that. We didn't see anything else. And which worked out fantastic that you ended up going when you did, because then the next week it just rained like
the next day. Because remember, I was like, I'm gonna stay.
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta,
I'll leave it. I'm like, I can't leave. We just got so close, and he was like, stay. He was ready to stay, but my kids started school. I had to go home the next day for back to school night or whatever, and started school the next day. So I'm like, it's Presley's first, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I almost
go back. I was like, go. I'm like, we were looking at the weather. I'm like, just go. Like, it's fine. Yeah. And I'm glad you did.
Yeah. I had so much fun with you guys and all your friends and your kids. And you guys are just the best. And hunting with you guys was so much fun. And I learned so much for myself too. Because, I'm new to hunting. So being able to be a part of your guys' group that are so experienced, it was awesome.
Aw, thanks, Nicole. It was fun to have you there. It was, like I've said before on social media and to you, like, I never thought I'd have a girlfriend that would, like, every day that we can, like, talk about hunting or have, let alone have someone. I think it just like goes to show like who your friends are, because so many people even close to us are like, oh hell yeah, I'll come help, you know, but like you drove over 8 hours to come help me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm kind of like a stranger off the internet, even though we've grown this friendship, you know.
I mean,
over the last 2 years.
You drew the tag. I'll never forget when you drew the tag. Was it April or May?
May.
And you voice memoing me, and I'm like, I have got to be there. It was a no-brainer. But then as I'm driving, I'm like, what if she doesn't like me though? Like, you know, like,
I know, it was like, wait, we have this friendship and like we like each other, but what?
Yeah.
And then she's like staying in the trailer, like,
yeah, I'm sleeping with you guys.
Golly's wild friends.
No, it was so much fun. I had so much fun, and it is a trip I'll remember forever.
Me too. I'm glad you got to experience it with me, and we were super impressed with not only your camera skills, obviously, that was incredible, and I'm forever grateful for that, but like I love so much about you and the fact of like you hunting, like you truly want to learn and you absorb stuff so much. You are so smart and so intelligent. It was so fun watching you go from like the day scouting with us, hearing about everything, the lay of the land, the animal, and then what you had absorbed, and then also like the knowledge that you have from hunting with David and kind of combining the two and like not being afraid to ask questions or assert yourself and being like, well, what about this? Or how come we don't do that? It was just really fun. It's nice to have a bougie bitch that's a baddie hunting too, that knows what's up.
Like I have to have my lip liner in my pocket, but I'll shoot something right now.
Right now.
Check it out. No. Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything else to add or questions or anything to the buffalo hunt.
Yeah, I do actually, because I have to tell everybody how badass you are and like how inspiring you are. And not only as a hunter, but like a mom and a wife, you know, like it was
cool.
But your kids, you know, Rivers, Kooper, I didn't get to be with as much as Rivers, but Rivers was just like the light of my life this trip. Everybody back there. And their passion for hunting and the way you guys are as parents and, you know, your morals and values and how you teach them is like incredible. Your whole family is incredible, and how hard you work for your hunt. It's not just the season. Like this is year long for Brittany. This is all year. She's training all year. There's no off season. And I just love you so much. So I'm so grateful I was there and happy to film it for you. You know,
I love you. Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm very grateful you filmed. I want to do more filming with you and hunting with you. I love you, friend. Cody and Rendell's going to be juicy because that's in a lot of those really, really close stocks too.
Yep. It's going to be awesome. Details get even juicier. I mean, I got there like the first couple days and it was kind of like, you know,
yeah.
The last day was our most eventful day for sure, but the hunt just gets more gruesome. Especially the day after. I can't wait to hear you reflect back on the day after I left, because that is a story to tell.
Nicole was hilarious. What are we doing? Oh, why are we going up this road? Cody, you're doing great. I'm going to break you out of your shell. I'm like, no, you're not. I was in my dark place going up this washed out canyon. Like, it was not cool where I took that trip.
Meanwhile, I come with a warning label.
And it used to be normal.
I come with a warning label, and you're warning me to keep my conversations good with Koop in the truck. And you guys are having your own conversations. It's worse than me and Jeremy.
And then Nicole gets scared. Ah! There's a kid in here.
So the kid's in the car with the Rivers in there.
Listen. You gotta talk. Are you going pee?
Yep. We'll take a commercial break.
Just because the weather is getting colder doesn't mean you shouldn't be thinking about upgrading your cooler. We still have plenty of adventures to take, food to keep cold while you're going on them, and you want to keep them from getting soggy. There's nothing worse than reaching in for like your snack and if the paper is wet and soggy or your cheese is soggy. Plus, you want to be able to keep those drinks cold, keep those mountains blue and the water refreshing after that hike. Not to mention, be able to keep your meat cold on the way to the butcher or taking it home. So where are you going to put all that? In a cooler that's ultra lightweight? Are you going to be able to keep those drinks cold, those mountains blue, and your food organized? Are you going to be able to keep those snacks easily accessible? How about knowing that your cooler can float upright every time? No need to panic on the duck boat anymore. Rugged Road coolers offer all this. And they have new sizing. They have the smaller V25. This can hold up to 25 12-ounce cans. It's kind of like a cool, bigger version of a lunch pill, but it still has all of our favorite features of the Rugged Road, the flip top, and the snack rack. Plus, now they have the big daddy of them all, the 115. This sucker will hold some meat, and we're excited. Ours is currently on its way. Like I mentioned, the Rugged Road is ultra lightweight. As you can see, one hand, it has this flip top, which I think will be super nice come duck season to be able to, one, sit on an extra bench, and then two, be able to sit and make your food on something, some cup holders as well. And then, like I mentioned, inside it does have the snack rack. So you've got a place to put your things, a divider, so you know whose drinks go where and what. And it has top-of-the-line ice retention. To get your new cooler, go to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG, that's LONG, for 10% off your next cooler. Tell them we sent you by going to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use our code LONG, again, for 10% off your next order.
Highest to highs to the lowest of lows to the highest of highs.
To the lowest of lows again. That's a lot of lows of lows.
Pretty much.
But then in an instant, it goes to the highs.
Yeah. And it's so fast how the atmosphere and just the temperature, the attitude changes. Like it really is just as quick as you can snap. Like all of a sudden, like, oh, we're on them again. We're going to kill something. Like this is exciting.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy. I'd never been on a hunt that it turns that quick, that fast. Like, I mean, you go out, you hunt elk, you hunt deer, I think the closest to it, and you just don't get the low, is duck hunting. Like you're out duck hunting, and all of a sudden you see them, you hunker down, and like you're excited, and it's gone. But like you never get as low as you do buffalo hunting.
You don't get low with duck hunting.
Yeah, I mean you just move decoys. But I had never experienced a hunt like that was. It just toyed with your emotions so much. Like you're confident, you're there, you're doing it, and then it's like these things don't even exist. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. For days.
Yeah.
Sometimes hours, sometimes days.
Yeah. I don't even remember. I don't remember how we decided to split up, but that next morning is when me and Jeremy went by ourselves. But it was because Koop had killed that bear. I mean, it couldn't have been a more perfect shot. But coming back, like it was cool to see Koop have that opportunity of like packing his own bear out and seeing that experience with him.
Going into that though and seeing Cooper see it was awesome. Yeah. And to have you guys there with him because it meant a lot. But then to see Rivers walk in and see it and like step back and watch them, Rivers was just like, that bear's bigger than mom and dad's for sure. Like, and just would put his hands on his hips and look back and be like, good job, Koop. Like it was watching like two little old men.
And the day
just
before.
Look.
Just old souls.
Yeah. It was so cool. It'll be one of my favorite memories is
I'll have to send them to you, but I still have pictures through the spotting scope of you guys down in there.
Oh yeah. That was
because I was glassing down in.
Yeah.
And the day before when I spotted at Rivers was just jacked. I've never been more excited for a hunt in my life. Yeah. Like my brother's gonna go kill a bear. I've never been more excited for a hunt in my life. Like
in a video, he's like talking. I'm like, shh.
Yeah, he was just
so
wound.
Excited. I've never been so excited for a hunt in my life. I'm like all the hunts you've been on.
Yeah,
your brother going after a bear.
But it was fun. It was fun being kind of the outsider, just watching everybody hike in, watching everybody come out, and like. Just seeing the team effort that went into it to recover the bear. But by that time, like I had to get back home. I think Jeremy had to get back home. Like it was kind of like, well, it's great we got a bear, but we've got to focus on these buffalo again. Yeah. And brought that back into the perspective of like, crap, like we still have a hunt to do.
Yeah. Well, and by this time, you guys are leaving. And it had already been a long morning. And we kind of just needed a reset after all that and kind of restock camp and get things situated. And luckily, my dad had randomly decided to come in that night too, which worked out great. Yeah. Because you guys were leaving. It was kind of us and then Daryl. So our family of four and then Daryl stayed with
I was debating whether I wanted to go out
that's right.
through the north and stay on the hardball, or whether I was going to go out the same canyon I came up.
Yeah.
Just because we weren't sure
the
how much rain had come through and how things were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as we were going, we're like, oh, we'll just go fill up water, restock things. As we're filling up water, we'll just kind of like make our way, kind of easier night. Like we're going to glass and look for stuff, but obviously we don't know where anything is.
Country.
Just cover country kind of a thing. And as we were going out, we ran into my dad, and he ended up bringing in some supplies and then asking if he could take the boys. And we're like, perfect. Now we get a little date night. Like, this will be fun, you know? And I thank God that he did, because shit got Western
stuck.
Crazy fast. But yeah, we went.
Somewhere would have been 300-400 times.
Well, we headed back down.
Never had an issue.
Yeah, where we had seen buffalo with Nicole.
Yep.
So we decided to head down there.
See if they're still hanging down there.
Yeah. And we got stuck as shit.
We stopped up on the high ground.
Yeah.
Because the flash floods, the rain and everything had washed out, and I could see there's like a 2-foot lip down in the bottom. Flash floods have washed this out. Can I clear this with my truck? Stopped on the high ground. As soon as I stopped, I felt it slide downhill, and I'm like, uh-oh. Walked down, checked the bank. All right, we can go forward. Not a big deal.
Like, it didn't even feel...
Got in. We couldn't go forward, back. The driver's front tire was just sunk in just enough off the ledge. We couldn't get up. We couldn't get down.
Just couldn't get anything.
Mm-mm.
Wow.
And you guys ended up... You hiked back to camp that night, didn't you?
Yeah, well, we tried a lot of shit before that.
Yeah. We handymanned up and down. We packed rocks for a couple hours. We got rocks under the tires. We handymanned the driver's side up, the back up.
Getting close enough to dark. You were like...
It half hour before dark, I'm like, I know we get service at the top of this. Like, if you want to try and get up to the top and get service, call for help. Great. I'll keep working on this.
So you kept doing that, and I headed up.
Yep.
Which is sketchy because we're on the plateaus.
Vertical feet through cliffs.
So I started heading up thinking, like, you have to get service at the top, right?
Yeah.
Like, at some point, like, these are tall. Like, I am climbing. But I'm on all fours getting up there and trying. And then I just keep going because I'm like, well, maybe even if I get up on the flat, it'll be a quicker walk up on the top to get out to at least service
Climb
or the highway.
Plateau till you get service.
Yeah. And then I just got cliffed up to where it was... One side was complete straight drop off, and then the other side you could like kind of walk over on the edge. But by this point, I had my headlamp on.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
about got eaten by
that's
scorpions.
a solid no. Like, you know, like, this isn't worth me trying to get service. Like, I'll go back down to Cody.
Truck's already stuck.
Truck's already stuck. Yeah. And scorpions. So I head back. And then I realized I was glad, I will say this. If you end up on any adventure, turn your Onyx tracker on. Because now I'm going back down cliffs in the dark with just a headlamp, and shit is completely different. Because you're already having to find your way up, and now you got to find your way safely down, and you can't see over stuff. So that was an adventure in itself. And yeah, I ended up falling, eating shit, looking down where my hand had landed, and my headlamp looked at it, and just as I looked, a scorpion like scurried off from my hand.
That's not cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's what I went. I wanted to go to my dark place, but I had to. It wasn't time.
And she comes back down. I'm gassed from handymanning, trying to move. Like I've maybe moved 4 to 6 feet in the right direction by this point. After 2 hours of jacking and stacking rocks, getting moving, and I'm like, oh, here she comes. Somebody's coming.
I felt so bad.
She comes back down. I couldn't get service. I got ledged out. I'm like, oh.
You could just tell he was like, fuck this.
And back to the lows of lows.
To the lows of lows. And then another, like, she helped me for a minute. We were handymanning, packing rocks. She was packing rocks. I'm handymanning. We get moving. We move maybe another foot or two. Yeah. And lightning just.
From every direction, too.
All around us, drops in. And then it starts raining. It's like, we can't be in this bottom. Look what it's already done. Like, we got to go.
Well, and I don't think in Utah, I mean, you hunt enough in Utah. You don't, flash floods are a real thing. Yeah. And like, you don't
kill people every year.
Yeah. Unless you've been in it or unless you've seen what it can do. Like, I remember I used to think, like, how do people get caught in stuff like that? Or like, how do you not prepare and get in and like see the weather coming? But until you've been out there, until you've experienced that stuff, like you don't understand how easy it is for that stuff to come in on you.
And in remote spots, the weather forecast means nothing.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, even that day before when I was driving out, when it was the day before when we were driving over to meet where we'd spotted those, where you'd spotted those buffalo and we were meeting you. I mean, there's areas of 15 miles where you're driving through sloppy road because it's rained so hard. And then it's almost like there's a line in the road and it's like, hey,
dry.
No more water here.
That's exactly where we stopped.
Yep.
To get stuck.
And it just...
We're dry. I'm going to walk down and check. Oh, I parked my front tire on the wet.
Just the wrong sandy,
just
muddy.
But it, like you said, the weather forecast doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you prepare. Like, that stuff can move in on you so fast.
Well, and we'd seen out there, obviously, where we were, we could
The
already
last few
see
days.
the line.
Yeah.
And then we were seeing all those washed out roads and all that shit. And it's just like, no,
It,
not.
it's crazy how it just happens like that.
Yeah.
So we piled everything we could inside the truck. And we're like, okay, let's go. So we grabbed our backpacks. And it was time just to head out. And at this point, too, we're thinking like, well, at some point, someone's going to start. Is someone going to start thinking about us? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's got to get concerned. I was at home.
No. But the people we know, her dad.
Yeah. The people that were out there, Daryl.
Yeah.
We're thinking, all right, we got to get headed out, but they ought to come looking for us. And then,
but also we're buffalo hunting, so maybe they think we got something.
They think we got something, and we're hiking out, and it's like we're also pretty capable hunter, like people and hunters.
Like, oh, they're fine.
We're the more we talk about it, the more like they're probably going to be like, if we don't see them after midnight, then we'll get worried. And it's like, oh,
so
we're going to have to keep walking. Like, they're not going to look for us for a while. Mm-hmm. And then the rain sets in.
Oh, yeah.
It is coming down.
We get out our backpack covers, everything. Like, we're walking for a minute, and then it just dumps. So we just jump off the road, head to the cliffs, find an overhang, hunker out of the storm. We're just watching it lightning, put on a show.
Which
wondering, is the truck underwater yet?
Yeah. Wonder if we're going to hear a big whoosh. Well, and at this point, too, we were saying, if it wasn't for having other people worried about us, my dad, Daryl, the kids, then we would have just found high ground and made camp under a cliff somewhere.
If we were by ourselves, like,
spend
cool,
get
comfortable, build a fire, let's go to bed.
You know what I mean? Like,
we're
we
exhausted.
Fine, but
even go back to the truck and sleep. Like, no, is it that far?
You don't sleep at the truck there.
Not there.
Is that where it was?
Yeah. So that's where, like, well, you know, any other night we would just be like, we would have just stayed under the cliff. So we still need a date under a cliff. But we stayed there for a while, got to watch a hell of a show. It was pretty cool sitting underneath. You know, under circumstances, you might as well enjoy it for what it is.
You got to make the best of it.
Yeah, like, it was really beautiful. I have a cool video of the lightning, and
we were more worried about the people worried about us than we were ourselves.
Yeah, at this point, we're safe.
You're safe. More or less, you know you're safe.
We just don't have service.
It's only a couple scorpions that'll sting you.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Fuck them.
I'll eat them.
Delicious. Could be good over like a fire.
Arachnids.
Could be good.
That arachnid family, like, it just stays away from me.
Spidery.
Yep.
Yeah. So we stayed there, I don't know, 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Minute. And then it let off enough that we were like, should we try again? Like, is this our break?
Keep our backpack covers on. Keep our packs dry. No extra weight. Let's go.
Yeah. And we had talked too of another place. Like, well, if it gets really shitty, the next place we go to is that cabin we stopped to in Nicole.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just go there. It's a cabin. Perfect place, you know? So we just like trucked
Probably not perfectly waterproof, but
good enough. Shelter. Yeah.
Good enough.
Yeah. So we just moved. We really didn't talk much either. We just
from that point
walked.
On, I don't think we stopped and took a break for the next 4.5 miles.
No.
We just kept walking.
So how far did you guys end up walking before you did get cell phone service and able to call somebody, or did you? You guys got all the way back to camp?
We got so lucky.
We'll tell you. So
6.2 miles is the distance.
Yeah. But we ended up, so we're trucking along, and I remember
5.2 miles.
What's the place? I think it was 6.
After that. Well, it was 6 something total.
I hiked my ass up a cliff. I went 6.
Yeah. You did that.
But I remember like our watches were buzzing and stuff. And at that point we were like, we're not going to look and see what time it is. We're not going to see how far we went. Like all that shit will matter later, you know?
It doesn't matter till
we're out.
And you do get service even in the bottom of canyons in random spots out there.
So you just like keep
You're just hoping
every once
watch
in a while.
buzz.
Yeah.
We got service. No.
Yeah. So we get walking and finally I remember like coming up a hill and it's like there's a whole bunch of fences going along. And I was like, oh shit, that might be the corral. I like at that point, I was like, if this is the corral, we're making good time.
Yeah.
And it was. Sure enough, it was the corral. I was close to the homestead, which was great because then the homestead's kind of at the bottom of where you drive down into the canyon.
Climb up out.
Yeah. So I'm like, sweet. Now we just got to climb out of there. But it's funny. I like this part of the story. We're going past the homestead.
Where we talked about
spending the night. And I was like, oh, like, I guess should we honeymoon in the homestead? And just as we said that, the gate slammed
there was wind,
shut.
But not like consistent wind, but there was a lot of storms and yeah.
And no,
there wasn't enough wind to slam that.
Yeah, it was so weird. Like we debated thinking like, well, we'll go sleep in there. And as soon as we said that, slam shut.
She thinks the ghosts of the couple that lived there.
I do. So we got walking and I was like, Cody, do you smell tobacco and flowers? And he was like,
how much do you need some water?
No.
You doing okay?
But I did. When it just slammed shut, it was like an immediate, like, don't stop. It was weird, huh? It was like it just, you could feel it.
We'll walk out with you.
Yeah. I told Cody, I'm like, I feel like they're walking us out. Like our pace felt consistent. It was just bizarre. Take what you will from that. But I did. I was like, that's a no. Tobacco and flowers.
Got it. We'll keep going.
God bless. See you later. We kept going. And so we did. We just kept trekking up and climbed our way out of there. But just as we I remember coming out of there too. And it's like, you're watching the pine trees, just trying to see more and more of the horizon.
Trying to see moonlight.
Like, how much farther am I till I actually crest to the top? And we did. We were just moving and never did get any service. And then the trees finally broke open. And as we were watching the pine trees, we know where we are.
We'll get service in 500 yards.
Yeah. Breaking the pine trees, coming up the bend, and you're watching the pine trees, and all of a sudden there's headlights coming by.
At 90 miles an hour.
Just speeding by. And you're like, I'm not going to be able to flag anybody down. We're still far enough away from the road. They're not going to see us. It's dark and they're going too fast.
Just out of sight. Just before it goes out of sight, you see brake lights. And turns down the road and we're on.
Did you guys have headlamps on then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Daryl.
It was dark enough. We were still using
bright enough. Was covering
it was no. So yeah, lo and behold, I'm like, holy shit, it's Daryl. Daryl said all of a sudden he just happened to look and there was just two little lights just bouncing down the road.
He was headed. He thought we'd gone down another area.
Yeah, him and my dad had our location wrong, so.
They were headed to a different ridge.
To their defense, out in that area, it's easy. It's easy to get location wrong.
It is.
It's also easy in our defense to say, we're headed here. Here's a hot tip. Maybe let's try here.
And get sidetracked from where I mean, it's so easy. I mean, not just on that hunt, but any hunt. It's like you can have an idea and then all of a sudden one little thing changes everything and you're 15 miles away from where you told everybody you were.
It's such an innocent detour. We'll just go check this. We've seen buffalo here. We'll be right back out. We'll be back out in an hour.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah. So that was crazy. The timing of it was.
That was
we would have stopped at any
11:50 p.m. Luckily, they came to look for us before midnight.
So how far, when Daryl picked you guys up, how far were you guys from camp?
25 miles.
Oh, so you guys were still a ways.
Uh-huh.
And he was in the side-by-side, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. And then we ended up deciding.
He didn't have his truck there. So he was in the side-by-side.
His wife took his truck back, huh?
So we were able to get a hold of my dad, make sure they didn't go and get lost.
Make sure they didn't go look for us somewhere different and get stuck.
Yeah. And then we decided, because it had not rained.
Not 5 minutes after Daryl picked us up and we pulled to the top to get service to call him.
It came down.
Sideways, hurricane winds, snow, sleet.
Just
we're inside on the phone and just pounding.
That's when you're grateful Daryl was there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it would have sucked. Especially because
especially since the cabin locked you out and
I
you're not
know.
allowed to be
Let
there.
us stay.
I knew of a different cabin would have been headed to. if
Oh
nobody
yeah,
was
me
there.
too.
Not to like, I don't know, coincidence, superstition, however you want to say it, but like the fact that that happened, I mean, you guys easily might have been like, let's just stop here for a little bit and take a break and catch our breath. And if you guys even would have stopped,
If we missed that 30-second window,
Yeah, he wouldn't have seen us.
it's
That's
a different story.
it. Like
It's
gives
just
me
kinda crazy.
full body chills all over again
Yeah.
because I feel like, yeah, it really is a timing thing,
yeah.
and it really just did like scoot us along.
30-second window from him going by to not seeing our headlamps, or the same 30-second window and Daryl didn't see our headlamps as he went by. Completely different story.
I mean, you guys making the timing you did, leaving when you did,
Yeah.
being holed up in the rain how you did, like
Yeah,
all of that and just the timing and how it worked out and just
it is crazy.
God or superstitious, whatever you want to call it, like it's a pretty big coincidence that that's how that worked out,
100%.
Totally.
especially just in time for that much more storm to come in on you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just it's different and makes you think a little bit. So what time did you guys end up getting back to camp that night?
I had been awake for over 24 hours at that point. We got back at like 4:30.
So
And
did
I
you guys
got
even
up-
go hunt that next morning? Or
No,
did you
we
guys-
slept in.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That
We
next
were-
morning, we just chilled. We're like, let's let it dry out. Let's buy some time. Let's go get the truck out. Let's let the afternoon dry it out. Then the storm started rolling in again. It's like, we got to go now or we're going to
Yeah.
lose it again.
Yeah, so we slept in and then it was like, shit, let's go.
And like you get out there and like
From mile to mile.
so when you have these storms that hit like a 6 mile area, it's like, okay, well that's where the water is. Like, do we need to hunt in that area now?
No,
Or like
they're so
It-
scattered.
it changes everything, and like you still can't predict what the animals are doing. And
And what moved them
yeah.
to start with?
And again, you turn into this little fish in a giant pond of where do I go to find it?
You go
For
back
sure.
to trying to think like a buffalo. Why'd they move from high to low to high to gone? Like,
And being out there, it's not like they're getting a ton of pressure.
no.
Like there wasn't many people out there.
5 buffalo tags, you can't pressure 1.2 million acres.
No, and you only have a few guys that are out there scouting for other hunts and like doing other things like
And they're not harassing the buffaloes.
Yeah, like the archery deer hunters were not.
Cool. They pull
Yeah.
over. They're cool to look at. Take
Yeah.
a picture.
Yeah,
They're not pressuring.
Right.
And so it's just different that like you can't predict or you can't even guess just because it's such a big area.
Yeah.
It's so different that way. And so when did you guys decide to go out and hunt again? Like you'd taken basically that day off afterwards.
We went and hunted that night.
Did you guys go back out that evening
Mm-hmm.
and
But-
didn't turn anything up?
No. And then after that, it was just like days and days of rain. That's when we
Days
had-
and days of rain and still just checking things, trying different areas, covering country.
we were
like,
back to just
We're back to square one.
divide
Now
and
we got to
conquer
find
with
them.
Daryl.
Yeah.
Now we got to find them. You go here, we'll go here. Let's just get eyes on one.
Things I
But
get
they
it.
also found buffalo again.
Yeah, we did find buffalo that weekend with Daryl and Devin.
And you would think, oh, you've got like an entire month to hunt, but that time creeps up quick.
Oh, yeah.
and it goes by fast, and especially like getting stuck and not finding them and having to cover so much area.
Demoralizing, just not seeing them. We can't turn them up. We can't find a fresh track. We're hiking miles and miles and miles with the kids, trying to just turn up a track or find the furthest place you can imagine away from a road. Like, okay, they're not on the roads. We got to hike. We got to find them.
Well, and that's finally
Nothing.
what Daryl and Devin did that weekend when Devin came. They found us those ones from super far away. We had to come up over the backside.
Yeah.
And we still just...
They glassed them up from probably 5-6 miles away.
Well, and when you're doing it, like it was crazy to me to be out in that area and like you glass over an area and you think you're seeing everything in there. You're seeing a tenth of what you can actually, like the area that you're glassing over, and you're glassing that far.
If you see something, it's got to be in the exact right spot at the exact time you're looking.
And it's all by coincidence on whether you find it or not.
You can't see. You've got to find them in that 10% you can see.
Even though you think, I mean, because when I had come back out that last weekend and that evening we were glassing, like we glassed across this huge area where you guys had said like there's a lot of sign, a lot of buffalo. You'd seen the buffalo in there, and we're glassing in that area. And I'm like, cool. Like if they're in there, we'll see them from here. And we go down in there and it's like, never mind, we're not seeing anything from
How did we ever see him in here?
So, I mean, we kind of went through that whole week now of like that opener and that whole week. Like, did you stay out that next week or did you? Because
it was like 3 weeks later.
You guys had to come in. Rivs had one of his treatments and you guys were there for that. But basically, like, you really didn't really get to actually hunt again until basically that last 2 weekends.
No, we went out every weekend.
You went out every weekend, but like,
and
when
long weekends.
Yeah, and the long weekends.
I came home, brought the kids home Monday.
And Britt stayed out by herself. Because, I mean, I think I talked to you every 3 hours that week, just like, hey, anything yet? Anything yet? Like, do we even pack up and go? Anything yet? Like, I couldn't look at my phone without thinking, like, is she anything yet?
It was.
Because it was really slow. It was just like seeing buffalo tracks, but not being able to find them.
Yeah.
So and it's amazing.
Came out 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. It's amazing how such a big animal can just
and
like
so many big
disappear
animals.
Into trees. Like once they're in the shadows,
elusive.
They're gone.
And like I think about it all the time. Every time I hunt, like we go out there and we try and wear like what we feel like is the coolest camo out there. And it's like these things are giant black and brown blobs that you just can't see them. It's like, why am I even trying to like buy this camo and hide as well as these guys do when it's like they just move and like even when they're moving, they're just tough to see. Like they look like a tree shadow. They're so big.
That was that weekend. That second weekend you came out, I think it was the third weekend of the hunt. Mm-hmm. We went out on Thursday night, and right before our new camp, we found 40 buffalo.
Yeah, because you guys were videoing all. Well, and that's where that dinosaur giant one was. Like, and that got our hopes up and got us excited again.
The
Sweet,
one
we're back.
Horn, the other giant horn, just he's twice the size of the cows. Like,
yeah, we moved
go time.
camp.
Yep. Go time.
Yeah. So
it's gonna happen tomorrow.
Yep.
And then the next morning, oh look, they're right where we left them last night.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Which feels like never happened.
No.
Like no, it hasn't happened. We haven't been able to just like put a buffalo to bed.
Right.
At all. So we did.
Always move 5+ miles.
It was crazy.
Even on my hunt, they moved.
I didn't get
2 miles.
I didn't get to be there as much as you guys were, but like just between text and phone calls and stuff like that, like. It was almost like it would be like one day was super, super hot, and then it's cold for 3 days.
Yeah,
like
it was.
You'll find like a ton of buffalo for one day, and you just can't quite make it happen.
In multiple spots even.
And you think you've got them figured out, you think you know where they are, and then the next 3 days it's like, where did they go?
Yeah.
Like, how did these creatures just completely disappear?
It's like the first weekend, the second weekend of the hunt, Devin came out. And they spotted those buffalo from 6-7 miles away. We went down in, did 8 to 10 miles, and
not seeing anything. Just
stealth bombers.
Yeah.
Like we're just hiking in stealth bombers, shoes you shouldn't do like big distances in. So we went in. We hiked back and forth across that rim 5 or 6 times, trying to see down. Where are they? Moving around. There's some old tracks in here. Move around, go back, drop down, skirt back up, find the fresh tracks and fresh scat, and we move up and we follow them right to a guzzler, and then they disperse.
Yep. And then
it's
they're
like,
gone.
okay, we were too late. Like, did they go under us? Did they go over? Did they leave? We hike out, go back up, and we go back out, and we're all defeated. You know, highest to highs, oh, we're on them. Like, we're fresh, we're going. Any second now. Dies, you gotta go hike back up 1,000 vertical feet and 2 miles, like whatever. We go back up to the truck, we're going out. Oh, moping. Devin calls. We randomly get service. Where you guys at? Oh, we're almost back to the main road. Okay, well, we're down here. We just had buffalo right off the side of the road. Get down here.
Yeah.
So we bomb down there. They tell us where. We go up in. Not a single fresh track. There's some wet ground. There's got to be a track. We go up in 3/4 of a mile. Not a fresh track. It's like you guys are smoking something. Like we gotta go. Like go
Cody
back
was
out.
genuinely like, where?
We go back to the road and walk down the road another half a mile till we see them, wave them. They drive up to us. I'm like, you got like, where? Start re-describing. We reevaluate. We walk down. He's like, okay, down there. So then we hike back in and we get down into this canyon. And we just cut up like Hunter Call of the Wild glowing tracks. Like, this is a video game, right? There's mowed down grass. There's fresh tracks. Like, you could track where the buffalo had been because the grass is just laid down. Like, you could track it at 100 miles an hour. And we start going and we go and go and go. And then we get into, like, we lose it in the bottom. And so we back up and start reevaluating, like, how did we lose it? Well, they'd cut up the hill through all this dead pine fluff. And so you could see depressions. Like, is it fresh? Is it old?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
It's something you can't really give a judgment on the time of how fresh it is.
So we track it up through, and then there's one fresh track, and then there's 4 fresh tracks, and then there's 10 fresh tracks, and then it disappears again, and we just keep going. Get up on this top, and it's like, I don't know. We drop over into this other canyon, glass the other side. They're not there. We're going out this ridge. Okay, we keep tracking them, and we get out there, and then the tracks just disperse, and they're gone. We get out in there, and we get out to this, like, end of this ridge, and it's a knife ridge, and it's just cliffs. And the tracks just disappear. We're like, what the hell?
Like, did they dive off of here?
So crazy how an animal's so big.
And so many animals
that big. So many animals that big. Like, the terrain that they can cover and navigate and what they can go up and down
They're
and
like
through.
Bighorn sheep.
Like, you some of the stuff you walk through, you're like, there's no freaking way a herd of buffalo came through. There's not a chance. And sure enough, they do it.
Oh, yeah. It's wild.
Well, just like that, all the tracks led off and then dispersed, and we're trying to figure out tracks, and we go out and we climb on this cliff, and we glass and we glass and we glass. All right, they beat us. Let's go back. Yep. We go back up 60, 100 yards, and we're coming back in this pine face, like thick pine face, and you hear a stick break, and you look, and they're 20 yards.
Yeah,
we'd walk
20 buffalo start getting up at 20 yards and taking off. Like
our wind was just good tracking them.
Our wind was good tracking them, but then we got past them and then screwed everything up going back
to them.
Well, and you had kind of said it a few times we were out there that, like, it came to a point where you're almost hunting them like you hunt mountain lions. Like, let the dogs out and let them chase them down and track them down.
That
like,
was a large part of what we did the last
and that's basically
2 weeks.
What the hunt turned into the last couple of weeks was.
It did.
It's, I guess we'll just track them down and try and catch them on track.
Yeah.
And it worked once, but we couldn't make it happen again.
Yep.
Yeah. Those buffalo did run past the boys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We jumped those buffalo.
After we bumped them out of their beds coming back and couldn't catch up to them.
Every time that, like, you guys made a stalk that was fairly successful, or like that once we knew where they were and you got into them, like, you had opportunities, but you wanted to be selective. And that, like, that's part of it is anytime you're hunting, you want to get the biggest animal you can. You want to shoot something that, like, and when you're into them that thick, it's like, nope, like, we've got it down now. We've got this figured out. Like, I'm going to be selective. And then it changes in an instant. It's like, maybe I should have shot.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
And you're always second guessing that feeling of, like, well, we had it. We'll get back into them. We'll get this. But those animals, they weren't that way. Like, there's been multiple times on deer or elk or something like that you track it down, you get it into an area. It's like, you know what? This isn't perfect. I'm going to come back in and I'll close it out tomorrow. And you punch your tag the next day. These, you couldn't do that.
No.
It didn't even give you the option.
Well, it felt like we had, it felt like we had the time, or it was like, oh, okay, there might be something good here.
Yeah.
So take your time, kind of look around, and then the wind would,
Or it's like, okay, we see these ones. We're not going to pressure them. We're not going to bump them. We're not going to do anything. And we're going to come back in 6 hours from now. You go back 6 hours from that point, and they're 30 miles away. Like, they're not even in the remote same area.
Or the same unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy how those animals move like that. And, like, there's no rhyme or reason, at least for me. Like, I can't figure out why they do what they do.
There's not.
And maybe somebody listening or somebody that does this, like, could give us more insight. But at the same time, I'm so novice to it that I don't have a clue how to do it. And it goes back to those highs of highs and those lows of lows of, like, okay, we've got this, we've got it figured out. No, you don't.
Yeah.
But it goes back to like that last group we saw the night coming into camp and went and hunted the next morning. We actually bedded buffalo. Okay, we've got this. They were where we left them. How great is this? And we go in and we kind of get busted at the edge of the cedars because a young bull, and I mean by young, but he was an 8 or 10-year-old bull. Decent
He looked
bull.
little after
He
seeing the
looked little
first
compared
one.
to the big one.
Compared to the giant dinosaur.
Yeah,
you
that
saw.
you're seeing just in the background.
Yeah.
So it's like,
He pushed his 2 cows back by us at 34 yards. Not an ideal shot, but doable shot.
but we were getting kind of excited at that point, and we
Yeah.
were kind of figuring out like,
And
okay,
you
if I could,
still see the big one at 109 yards.
yeah. So we're like, let's go that
wait
way.
and let's hunt this one.
Like they're
Let
feeding
these
back
ones
to
go,
us.
and we'll go kill this one.
And so you sit there and all the time you're sitting there thinking, oh, like I'm finally got it figured out. I can now I can pick the one I want. I can be a little more selective. I can do the things I want to. And it just turns around to show you like, no, like
Yeah.
that's not how this
As
game works.
soon as the sun came up, those thermals switched, and it was just like game over.
We just stopped at that point and let the whole herd, I mean, how many were in there? 50, 60?
Yeah, there was a lot.
We let them go over the ridge. After the last one was over the ridge, it's like, now let's get up to the ridge. They're not moving fast. Let's get up there. They all got over. We made our move. We got up to that little, and I mean, it's a gentle ridge. Like it wasn't like a knife ridge. Like it was gentle. And we got up to that ridge. The last place would see, like we watched him breed a cow on this ridge.
Yeah.
Let's get to here. Maybe he's the last one and we'll pop over and be in range. We get to that ridge, wind back your neck.
Oh,
It was going
feeling
down
that
both
at the back
sides.
of your neck is just like
We didn't even
worst.
see the buffalo, but we heard them take off. Like you could just hear hooves
You could
as they take off.
hear those.
I
So we
remember-
back out and let them leave. Then we go back that night to hunt them. Can't find them, can't track them. We figured they were going to water that way. Didn't. They doubled back on us. Like if it would have just sat there, they'd have come right back by us.
Yeah. And I remember me and Jeremy talking about like, do they really win you? Like, how does that, like, they're buffalo.
Wind is the only thing they care about.
You put them almost like in the same category as like beef cattle that you're like, oh, these animals are dumb. They're just big and dumb and just graze. And like,
If they smell you, game over.
How many times?
If they hear you, you can get away with it.
it didn't take very long to figure out that like that wind was crucial and you had to play it right.
Oh yeah, that was the biggest thing. That like with all the stalks we
We
did,
learned
that's
that
what we
early.
learned
Yeah.
with the buffalo. Like movement, sound. You can get away with
You
those
can
things.
get away with moving. You can get away with noise. You cannot get away with them
Yeah,
smelling you.
They'd wind you and they'd be gone so quick, which especially with how the winds move out there and the weather pattern, how it was for while you're out there.
We didn't have
Like,
good wind
we-
the whole hunt.
No,
I mean, I
couldn't
remember,
plan anything.
I remember us talking about it. And it's like you almost want to get like a heavy wind coming in,
A
just
storm moving.
Yeah,
just
I
so you
wanted
can
a
play it.
storm.
Direct wind.
Yeah,
Because
it's
like you would
you're-
start playing the wind and you'd get to a good spot and then it would switch on you. So then you end up circling back around and it's just like this big time.
We had multiple herds that we sat there for 45 minutes to an hour plus, just waiting for the conditions to be
Mhm.
right. And then the wind switches and it's like, well, there they go.
Yep. And again, like just brings you back to that low.
Herds. The
Yeah,
other
big
problem
herds.
is big herds. The ones right here we're after don't smell us, see us, know we're here. But the 50th buffalo over here to our left or right, all of a
Far
sudden
away,
catches
too.
the wind and they take off running.
Yep.
And they're herd animals, so it takes the whole herd because one spooked, it takes 50 buffalo with it.
Yeah.
Hunting a herd animal is
Yeah.
tricky as shit.
Yeah, it puts
Especially
a
if you're
difference.
not the first one you see.
Yep.
Which
If you were hunting a buffalo, we could have killed a buffalo.
Easy. I mean,
Quick.
we
we could have had
been
it done for sure.
opening weekend,
Yeah.
but a once in a lifetime tag like that, like you don't just want to go out and stick the first thing you see.
No.
Like you,
I thought I had plenty of time too. We were in them. We had plenty of time. I wasn't even trying to. Ideally,
Yes,
yes,
you were.
I would have liked to up you. But at the end of the day, like I'd seen buffalo that made me excited. That's what I wanted, like a girthy boy. You know, it's all about the girth.
Goodness.
Rendell. I didn't want some like spindly little tall
explicit content.
guy. But when you're looking at the buffalo, it's the same thing as elk or deer,
Yeah.
right? You see something that like, even if your buddy is like, I don't know, and you're like, dude, that makes me excited.
That's the
what
one.
I was after.
Yeah.
I felt like I had the time to do that too, where we were in them and doing it.
And scouting.
The time scouting, the time hunting.
Right.
Like, it's not like you didn't put effort into this hunt and just went out and like just threw a dart on it and tried to get there. Like, you guys have put the time in, you guys have put the hours and the miles and everything into like.
Take 1 week off. We got to kill it this week, and that's it. No, she hunted from day one to the last day.
To the last minute of the last day.
Yeah. I think I only took 5 days off, is what we tallied.
You
Out
were,
of the
you
whole-
were there right at the last minute. Like we,
And only because
19
of
miles?
like mom and responsibility stuff,
Yeah.
you know? Or
Yeah,
it
I
wouldn't
mean,
have
just-
been that way.
Mom, but life responsibilities.
Right.
Like,
with a lot of that too.
We did,
Mhm.
and
We
we're
able to
very
grind.
lucky that way. And I'm grateful
Yeah.
for that. But yeah, that stock made me excited. It also felt like it was one of our, at that point, our closest encounters where it felt like, oh, I could have got a shot off. I decided not to. And at that point, I felt really good about my decision too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, no, like there's still plenty of
34
buffalo.
yards, young bull. 109 yards, giant buffalo.
Yeah. Like just give me a better shot at it and I'll
Yeah.
take him, kind of a thing. But it just wasn't there. So I was like, fuck yes. Like now I'm buffalo hunting is how I felt in that moment. That one made me excited. And then I don't know what happened. We just kind of went without for a minute again and
Lost
spotted
them
them
again.
freaking
We,
lost them.
we kept trying to glass where we thought they went to water, and then we figured out where they doubled back on us, and then we spent all that time for
and then like it just never closed. But like, I think we all had the feeling of like, okay, like
Now we
we'll-
kind of have them figured
we'll
out.
we'll make this happen now. Like, we've got it patterned, we've got it figured out, we've got enough now that like it's gonna happen.
but
Mhm.
somewhat discouraged that we weren't seeing them, but we knew where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
felt like
knew we were
still-
in the area.
Right. Yeah.
And that was 50% of the hunt was just trying to find the area they were in. But now we had it closed down
Like
to where it
every
was like,
fourth
we're
or
here.
fifth day, just refine them. Now we can hunt them.
Yep.
Lose them. Now we found them. Now we can hunt them.
Mhm.
And it was, but I think we had all got to the point where like it wasn't such a high, but we're like, okay, we've got this now. We'll make this happen.
Mhm. Yeah. I was feeling much more confident at that point. For sure. And at all. Yeah. Then we had to come home. River surgery thing, I think, was that week.
Yep.
So we came, surgery.
Second to last week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gave him a couple days. A day, even. I don't know. The kid's a trooper. And then we ended up back out there.
Yeah.
And that's when we ended up going out. We got there, I think, in the evening or something, didn't we?
Yeah.
We got there really late, huh? And then the next morning we got up and decided to glass. Just try and relocate him again. And then we found him way far out there. Right?
Yep.
Is that what that was?
Mhm.
That weekend. So then we did. We ended up finding him another. Now we've moved down 25 miles, right? Now they're over the other way, another 25 miles.
Yeah.
And you guys ended up coming out too.
Yeah. Yep.
Rendell, Devin, and Daryl again came back out. So you guys kind of divided and conquer again.
Mm-hmm.
That was our last actual
Full weekend of
the hunt.
hunting. So you guys came out and helped me rally. And we just divided and conquered again. And we still couldn't, though that was the only herd we were able to turn out.
Yeah. And it was crazy. The fact that like we had enough people out there, we were covering a lot of ground, but we still weren't turning them up like you would think you would. Like it was a different experience that way. Like you're still all over the place. You're still covering everywhere. And it's like, okay, we know this group is here, but we still can't turn them up.
Devin and Daryl covered 50 miles, didn't see a buffalo.
Yeah.
We covered 40 miles and didn't see a buffalo, but we cut fresh tracks. Morning, me and Britt were together. We cut fresh tracks and we told you to dump us off.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we started tracking and you went and started covering other ridges, looking and glassing
Well, and I was trying to kind of glass back in best I could, but
to where we'd seen the fresh tracks head.
from ridge to ridge, like, and especially going down in there, like you understand how you don't see them from ridge to ridge. Like you can completely get that. Like you can
Ridge
You
to
can
ridge
think-
saying 200 yards, 2,000 yards.
So I had glassed from the ridge I was on to the ridge that they had gone into, and I was 700 yards away. I had a clear view of all of it, what I thought was a clear view. Yeah. And like understanding it from when you guys came back out and we were talking about like what I was seeing and where you guys were, it's like, holy crap, like as much as I thought I could see in there, there's no way I'm seeing anything in there.
Tracks and
and then you get in there and like you're like, oh, now I know why.
Yep.
Skirting cliff
It looks
edges,
completely different than what you expected.
Rabbit holes,
Just
up,
everything.
down cliffs.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the day before, though, we were 24 yards before you guys got out there, and we had that whole situation we thought we were going to kill.
Yep. I mean, how many times do you think on this hunt were you in a situation where it's like, hey, it's happening now? I'll bet it was over 20 times.
I don't know if it was over 20.
I wouldn't be
It's right
surprised.
around.
Like it, and maybe that's a little
It's right
exaggeration,
Feeling like,
but like,
this
but-
could be my chance. Yeah.
but like there was a lot
Getting
that
close
It was
enough.
like, hey, like this is it. This is when we're
Yeah.
gonna punch tag here.
Yeah. It was emotionally
I
exhausting.
guarantee you had no less than 10 opportunities to kill a buffalo.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Like
It was.
you could have
it was
shot
a
a
lot.
cow or a young bull at least 10 times.
Yeah. And it was either like for the majority of the hunt, it was I didn't want that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that collared bull.
Or the collared
that?
bull.
12 to 15-year-old bull.
Well, and there was a collared calf
Probably
or cow
110
that was in there
probably
too.
110 inch
Yeah,
bull.
that collared cow I
There
was going to kill
multiple
towards the
collared
end.
cows, though.
But there was that one that kept like
There was
just
one
taunting
collared
you and,
cow
like,
that
was
kept
the
just
one we were
freaking
talking about,
pinning
24
us.
Yards. She was bedded 5 yards in the cedars to where we couldn't finish getting out of
Yeah,
the
we
cedars.
started making a
So the
stalk
herd
on
bedded
one.
in the open.
to the point you just can't quite get there to make it
Yeah,
happen.
because she was just watching us. She would
Like,
just look at us.
all you needed was
And-
another 5 yards.
Yeah. There was always like just
5 yards, dead buffalo.
one
Yep.
more thing. One more thing.
Just one more little obstacle. That,
Right.
Like, seems so minute, and then like you can sit there and armchair quarterback all day long and think like, oh, you should have done this, or you should have done this, or you should have done this. But like the reality is like I don't think you could have played it any differently and been successful.
No.
That's
Although
like when people hear you were 8 yards from a
Yeah.
nice bull and you didn't shoot it, it's like it wasn't the perfect shot. Like if there was no obstruction, no nothings, yes, dead bull.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Or-
and I learned too, like with all this is
Use a rifle.
Valid.
I knew that was coming. No. Biggest takeaway. No, it's just like I think too is I think you could get away with more movement than we were worried about.
Well, like I told you on those ones,
Yeah.
just screw them. They already smell us. Like go.
Yeah.
get
But if
that
you're
5
gonna
yards.
like if
Go.
you're gonna
Get a
commit,
shot.
like you gotta be
You've got to go.
ready to commit.
Yep.
Like if you're gonna know that
You
that
can't
cow's
sneak at
watching
that
you,
point.
yeah. If that cow's watching you, she's gonna bust, but you have just a little bit of a window to like hurry and go.
You have 2 minutes before she gathers the troops
I
and
don't
bus.
know.
Like move. That day we got on those, we were waiting for you guys to come out.
Yeah.
And so we
were
drove down the bottom of that canyon thinking maybe they made a break for it. Not a fresh track, nothing in the bottom of that.
Yeah.
So then we reevaluated saying they're still up top. They got to be there somewhere. And they hadn't moved
Yeah.
2 miles.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Well, and we had so many cool experiences.
It was so thick, they didn't have to move. Like
And-
they knew what they were doing.
Yep.
That was the obstacle when we found this last herd, we'll call him, that we got on, was where they was thick. Like
Yeah.
it felt like we were elk hunting in the pines at this point. Like it was so thick, and
But
there
you
was
can't call
Yeah.
you can't call
You
them,
can't
so you
call.
can't
It's
locate
pure
them. You
tracking.
can't bring them into you. It's pure
them. Or
tracking.
luck.
And there was times like after I didn't shoot at that collared bull that was 25 yards, they went more. So then we were able to get back on them again.
Yeah.
We just let them calm down and go over the
Calm
ridge.
down, get back on
And then
them.
try and do it again.
And at this point, yeah, we're like, okay, we can make it work again. Like it always felt like, oh, that didn't work that time.
But we'll
like
get
you
it
always
this
felt
time.
like you had time,
Yeah.
you know, until you didn't. And then it was like, next thing we know, we're sitting there waiting and they start feeding at us. Like,
Well, we let them calm down, and we went around at them, and we ended up T-bone in the middle of the herd. So we backed out, made a mad dash around them to get in front of them again, and come back in at them. And we're like, did we miss them? Where are they? And all of a sudden you hear them coming. and the whole herd is coming at us, like horses eating hay. They're down feeding. They're just, you can hear 25 of them just blowing snot, just coming at us. And it's like, oh, they're right there, 19 yards.
To my left, like
they came right into us.
Until, again, the back
70 yards away to the left of us, the wind where we thought we had the wind, there was buffalo that got around us and got in our wind and took the rest of the herd with them.
But that was us running around there, and then that's when you came in, and we were excited when you came in too, because we were like, we're in him, we're able to make several plays on him. Like, all we need is to be able to see them, and just
we know where they are.
We just need that right moment to happen, which is archery just to a T.
Yeah.
And hunting in general.
So we drove another 40 miles in the side-by-side.
Did you guys add up the miles that were put on the side-by-side in the trucks that weekend?
I did.
I have
Thousands.
no idea.
At least hundreds. I don't think it's thousands.
We hit
but
like
it's over
almost.
thousands.
I would think
It's over
between all the
1,000.
vehicles that we had, between Daryl and Devin out there in the side-by-side, and me out there in the
5,000
truck,
plus
like
Yeah.
Jeremy when we were out there the first weekend, like everybody that was out there, it was thousands of miles.
Yeah,
Mhm.
5,000 plus.
It was
Guaranteed.
at least an oil change.
Yeah. Well, I owe everyone oil changes. I appreciate it.
100%.
Yeah. But because we had got onto him, we got excited, and then it was kind of like, well, like, I remember leaving that Sunday morning thinking they're going to kill. I'm going to get back home and I'm going to get a text message saying bull down.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone was kind of just waiting to, like, when we had got in at
That
8
last
yards
week.
that last weekend, like, because it felt like we were, like I said, we just
Finally
needed
figured
everything
this
to,
one out.
yeah, we figured them out. We just needed everything to align just right, kind of a thing. Because we kept getting back on them.
But after that day we just talked about, Rendell was there, went over with us. Couldn't find them, but we cut fresh tracks. We went and checked everywhere.
Yeah.
Didn't find them, so we went back to the fresh tracks, and you and I just started walking them down.
We did. We just started walking. And you're kind of like, every mile, you're like, right,
Every
do I
step
go
they
one
could
more
be-
mile?
Well,
Yeah.
and I think it was that weekend that you came back when I picked you guys up, and like you dumped a pocket full of buffalo hair out. Like, yeah, I mean, you're not just like
They were going through 3-foot tall rabbit hutches.
yeah.
We were on
They
all
would
fours
drag off.
crawling.
They would drag off fur like they had to just close their eyes and plowed through some of the stuff we
I would
followed
have
them through.
never guessed a buffalo would
Yeah.
go through that, because we were on all fours, and doing so,
So
my
that we could
sight
be
got-
quiet, plus not scratch the crap out of ourselves.
Yeah.
yeah, and doing that, I think is probably what caused
Oh yeah.
my sight to
Get
get bumped.
loose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we had been crawling, and that's when we finally kind of got back up after so many times of crawling, and I felt that rattle, and I'm like, oh shit,
2 miles in
2 miles
to
in,
tracking them,
and
when
we're
it
on
feels like the next
steaming
step we're
piles
there.
of buffalo
Next step we're
poop.
going to be on them.
Yeah.
Oh, there's kind of a 100-yard opening. Like this is where they're going to be bedded. No, keep tracking through that. Keep
Mhm.
tracking through that. Keep tracking through that.
Yeah.
The last time we saw him, we tracked him 2 miles in. She stops me. My sight's loose. I had to take my Leatherman, tighten it up, sacrifice an arrow, shoot. 11, like I ranged this.
You asked me, do you want to shoot? And I'm like, hell yes, I want to shoot. I
Yeah,
don't want to not
obviously.
know what my
Yeah.
bow's doing.
So we picked a little knot in a tree at 11 yards, shot. She was 6 inches right at 11 yards. It's like, okay, at 10 yards, she's 6 inches right. At 100 yards, she's going to be 60 inches right.
That's a huge difference.
That's a
It's a
huge
huge
deal.
difference.
Like,
yeah.
but it's like
And in a
it's-
herd,
Yeah.
like aim at a different buffalo to shoot
Yeah.
this buffalo.
In this country, if you get a shot, it's going to be 10 yards.
Yeah.
Not knowing should end up 8 yards from a buffalo. Like, so then we get that squared away, get it somewhat tight going. We're tracking. I hear a stick break, and I look up, and all I can see is like this 12-inch patch of brown fur, and I'm like, they are right here.
Yeah.
Right here. I could range the bush at 24 yards. No, there's a bull behind it, cows behind it, cow laying next to him. And I finally just told her, I says, you need to sneak up to where you can find a clear shot to shoot from. Like, I'm going to stay here. 2 of us don't need to go. You get up there, find an angle.
And were you able to break off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was able to break off. I thought I made a hell of a stalk, which I did because I got 8 yards. But as soon as I got up there, again, from where Cody is, like we could see buffalo, but then when you get up that much closer, there's 20 of them in the trees.
It's crazy.
And you're seeing bits of fur.
Bits and pieces of fur, and then there's some of them running around
There's
below.
60 buffalo bedded right there.
Yeah.
60.
You take a step and you see another buffalo.
Yeah. But then they're in this broken down like timber too. So there's angled trees like they know almost like the perfect spot to lay down, because that was something that I was struggling with when I got up there, was not only the thick brush, but there was so many broken trees at different angles. Because I got up there, got close, and there was a big buffalo at 8 yards.
Yeah. But it was through a bush.
It was through a bush.
thick bush.
A thick brush. And there's moments where I'm like, I should have known my broadheads better, but I've always done the expandable broadheads.
Well, even that, like...
And at this point, my confidence is like...
With your sight.
With my sight, it just like threw me off, which it shouldn't, because I know, right? Like just aim.
But it's still...
this way. But now there's this little something in my head.
Yep.
That's all it takes is a confidence wavered, and there's a cow again looking at me. And so I remember there's like times where I like put my release on, and it's crazy. I think in like moments where it's probably so quick, like in real life, but you have those conversations with yourself. Like I remember the conversations with myself in those moments of literally being like, any other day, like you could shoot right through right there. You could shoot it, just shoot it, just shoot it. Like, and then I remember being like, dude, this could be your only chance. Just like something being like, this could be your only chance, do it. And there was finally that like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, get ready to. And then they start bumping and feeding. They started fighting. And so just that delayed conversation with myself was enough to like throw everything off and cost me the shot.
Yeah.
And I remember too, as they're moving, then all of a sudden I look this way, this one bumps up, and then there's a decent bull that stands up, and like when it stood up and you're 8 yards away, like those are some big fucking animals. Because I was like, oh, and he like looks at me, and it's pretty, his color was so pretty and everything.
And you're thinking, gosh, this would be a perfect time for a rifle.
No. So I like get ready to pull back on that one. But again, where I was standing and where he stood up, there's one of those big, thick timbers. So it's like, okay. So then I'm like, well, maybe if I can get a chance to kneel down, and then they just all feed it off.
Just go
on. I mean, it's a matter of just decisions. And yeah, that's one of those conversations I'll always remember having with myself. Because
all these buffalo
I kind of was like, I fucking knew it.
All these buffalo looking at her weren't looking at her. They were just looking around. Yeah. They still had no idea we were there. We shadowed that herd for another 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah.
We listened to the bulls grunt. Like, we stayed 100 yards above them and just shouted them.
So was it a matter of the sight being loose and everything? Like, what made you guys decide not to track them further in when you kept tracking them?
We did.
Well, you kept tracking them in, but there was a point where you guys turned around and you're like, okay, did they bust, or were you guys just kind of like, okay, we need to back out?
Well, we thought it was gonna, again, how a lot of these stalks have gone, where they like bust off and then we let them feed for a little bit and then we get back on them. It kind of turned out like that again, to where they almost got into like an open area where it was just sagebrush.
Open area, but we just shouted them and we could hear them. Like, we knew we were with them.
Yeah.
And then we got to a point, there's an opening. And then we can see these buffalo, and we start moving out towards them, and then buffalo saw us move at 30 yards. We start, like, they move off. We're thinking, okay, now we can go back after these. And I spotted more, and they were at 21 yards. I'm like, stop. And it was that collared cow again.
Your favorite
21 yards. 21 yards. Her and her calf move off. All right, let them move off, and then we start sneaking up to these others. They kind of fed off to the right, and then I can still see this other herd at 115 yards. Mm-hmm. And we start working towards them. I'm like, let's back out. Our wind's good. Let's back out into the sagebrush and come around. It's a younger bull. At this point, we're going to kill one. We start going around, and then we hear the grunting up ahead, and we look, and at 110 yards, there's 15 buffalo coming right back at us through this opening. It's like, oh, we're behind this brush.
Behind the bush.
We're going to shoot them at 5 yards. Like, they're going to come back.
It felt like that was one of those, like, now it's on.
Yeah.
Like, I learned from that. When I get a shot, I'm taking a shot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
There's a decent bull
felt like
100 yards
redemption.
ahead of us. Then these other buffalo and bulls start coming back. It's like, oh, we're going to get the big one. They start coming back. We're kind of in the spots like, okay, let's just chill out. Wind's good. Well, the ones that had kind of bumped from watching us move 21 yards to the right of us had gone up towards the road. And the wind's going that way, and they hit our scent, and they take off running, and they come back by all of them, and like 60, like they pick up the whole herd.
Just take them with them.
All of them start stampeding. They come back by us to the left, 54 yards. I'm like, draw back. If any of them stop.
So I
shoot
draw
it.
back, and I'm like, just hoping something stops. And I'm like, I'll just aim high. Like, I'm going to make it work.
Not high, left.
Left and high because I was still set. My pins were set.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember.
You
High
had
and left.
You had it.
And that was the last time we saw buffalo.
Yeah.
Nothing stopped.
But yeah, I just remember thinking it's going to be any time I'm getting a text message saying bull's done. And then I think it was, I got a call from you because I was already home and you're like, yep, we're leaving her out there. She's on her own now. And it was that last week that it's like, you're on your own. Good luck. Like,
Yeah.
because we weren't going to be back out there till that next Friday night. And basically, no, was it Thursday night?
Thursday night.
Thursday
Thursday
night.
night. Ended Friday.
It was Thursday night. Yeah, because I came out with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thursday night that I rode out with you guys. And it was like, well, like this is it. We've got to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and like the solo hunting thing was one of those things that like I'd always said like, well, faults fells, like I can work from the trailer. I can do what I need, in between hunting. Not thinking that we would actually get to the point of it being like a grinder, which I will say it was really, really cool. That was my first time doing like a solo hunt for days. How long was I out there? 3 days by myself? Yeah, 3 days. That was the first time I've got to do that. And it was good for the soul. It was challenging.
So what were you thinking? Like everybody leaves that second to last weekend and you're finally on your own.
Last weekend.
And this is going into the last week and the very close of the hunt. Like
The last
the last full weekend. And like, it's like, okay, like
4 days left of the hunt.
And so with you and being on your own, like you've got to have thoughts going through your head of like, what am I doing? Or were you excited to kind of be on your own? Were you nervous?
I was excited. I wasn't nervous to be on my own. I think a lot of this, like I have a really good teachers, right? I'm grateful for that. And we were able to learn a lot about the animal by this point.
Yeah.
Luckily, we'd had a lot of encounters.
Yeah.
Yes, because
nervous worked out.
Right, because there were times like the first couple stalks with Cody when they got close enough. Like that's a big. You see all the time, right? Like you're not supposed to be getting this close to these buffalo.
Yeah. You're closer than they recommend a Yellowstone.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of does make you be like, holy shit. So I'm glad we got a few of those stalks out of the road to get those nerves out. And then I got comfortable with them. So at this point, it's like, okay, now I feel confident in the animal. Like we said, the wind. And then we had conversations too. My biggest thing was I was fucking excited to like, we had a GoPro on my bow so I could record it to be able to like show my kids. That was my biggest thing, is like being able to show my family. But I was excited. Like, how cool would it be
to do it
by myself? Like, wow.
I think there was a part of you that I could see that like
really
you
wanted it to happen by
you almost
myself.
wanted it to come down to like there was a pride thing of like
all by myself.
I
didn't
really
need,
did.
I didn't need you guys.
I was getting real excited to text, and I am grateful because I knew like I had my pile of bros that I could be like, I got it. And you guys would be out there in a second. And I'm so grateful for that. And I realize that's because of like, a few hours.
Network.
Yeah.
Promise me they'll have it in the truck before I can get there.
Right. Yeah. And I know there was so many people rallying for me, which was really exciting. So, but I did like my pride and just being able to like finally do it by myself. I'm grateful to be able to do so much with him, and that's exciting, but it would be really cool to go do it by myself. And that's what it was coming down to. So I was in it. I didn't want to leave this tag knowing that I did not give it every freaking ounce that I had and then some. Like, so that's the goal I had. Talking to him, we had talked, and it's like, okay, when I get my buffalo, you know, I'm going to, like, what's the first things I need to do? And it was really the same thing as, like, you've been on enough hunts to know how to quarter something, skin something. Like, let's just go through. This is where I would start first.
It's just a little bit different with the size of a Volkswagen.
But it's the size of a Volkswagen. So make sure you've got, you know, like, I would pull its leg with this and do this. And biggest thing is cooling it down.
Yeah.
And you're by yourself.
Getting the cape off and trying to get the meat taken care of. So that was my goal. Like, find the buffalo, kill the buffalo. That's what I was more, like, anxious about, was making sure I didn't spoil the meat. Yeah.
That was, like, honestly my biggest concern once I got the buffalo. But I was excited.
And like we left you with, you worry about killing it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm very grateful for. But again, like, and I would have been, I don't know, it's one of those things that sucks for a day or two, right? Like, whatever.
I don't know. I kind of like it.
I love the suck.
Like,
I love the pack out. That's why I was like, do I start packing it out? And he's like, I highly doubt you're going to need to at that point. But like, okay.
You cut
as much.
He's like, you're going to have hours of work. You'll be fine.
yeah.
Which is so true.
Before you worry about packing.
But yeah, I was excited to utilize that skill set that I've
developed over
years and push myself too, because you know, like, now I'm out there. I've talked before about the fact of, like, how I used to be really nervous about bears and things like that, and now I'm hiking deep into country by myself, and I'm staying there till dark because I am gonna give it my all.
Yeah.
And then hike back out miles and miles. And that's, I'm like, I told Cody at one point, because we really hadn't located him again when you guys left me, so I was trying to locate him again, which I think that was the part you were stressed about, as was I. Was like, now I'm the only set of eyes out here, and it was really bizarre.
And there's too much ground to cover for one person,
so that was stressful in itself.
Yeah.
But it was weird too, being out there. I'm like, I didn't run into a person or talk to somebody in days. Like, I don't know the last time I haven't had a human encounter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was, I like remember having a moment of being like, I literally can't think of I am alone.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot think of the last time I haven't been alone for 2 days completely.
So when you were out there, after you would left you were on your own again, I don't remember. Were you able to turn him up again?
No.
Mm-mm.
That was the last time we saw him, was at 8 yards.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Yeah.
50,
But coming out.
54.
Yeah, coming out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like I said, I think that whole month I probably called Cody 6 times a day, or we're back and forth, like, what's going on? Like, and it finally came down to, like, no, we got to go back out there. And
which was frustrating to not, like, that's what pissed me off too, is like to not even get a chance to go do it, like to put a stock on by myself.
Yeah.
That frustrated me a lot. Or to even be able to turn him up. Like, I know on his end, he was just trying to, like, what's happening. I'm sure it drove him nuts to not know what's going on.
But you found fresh tracks.
But I found, I got,
too, like, oh, she's gonna do it again.
right.
Yep.
Which that was exciting. And that was it.
And I remember going back out the last couple days of the hunt thinking, like, okay, we're going to get on him again.
The last day of the hunt.
Was it only the one day?
We went out Thursday night, and we
went
out
out Thursday night and
Well,
Friday.
and because I had been on the last Wednesday, Thursday, I had been on fresh tracks and poop.
Yep.
And I was just thinking
we'd do the same thing we just did.
Yeah. And you kept being like so confused on why the hell, like, what is going on? I'm like, Cody, you don't, like, I am walking and walking and walking. Like, for real, dude. I could tell he was like, how are you not finding these buffalo?
Well, and I think it's easy to sit there and listen to, like, all these times you were up on them, all these times you're around them, and, like, just sit there and think, like, how did you not do it? Yeah. But like you mentioned earlier, hunting a herd animal, so different than hunting one elk. And, like, even elk is probably where I'm most experienced on big game, and a herd of elk is very different than a herd of buffalo.
Oh boy.
Like, a herd of elk, they're pretty close to each other. Like, you can be in the middle of that herd.
They don't cover that kind of country.
No. And you can be right in the middle of them and, like, maybe spook one, but one will run off and it doesn't take the whole herd.
Yeah, the whole herd goes.
But with buffalo, like, one catches you and they're gone. All of them are gone. And it just makes it a different experience. And like, it's a learning experience for sure. Yeah. But how do you play it different?
And doing what we did and getting to 8 yards, we thought we'd just do it over again and just walk them down.
Well, and at that moment,
that last day we did 19 miles trying to walk them down.
I mean, part of that's because I didn't have cell phone service.
Part of that's Rendell. God, I was thirsty.
Part of
those miles is part of that, but part like walking them down, we did.
Yeah, probably at least 12. No, probably more like 16.
12 or 15 on buffalo.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy is like in that 8-yard moment, they didn't seem pressure. Like it seemed like I had all the time in the world to maybe even like get around this bush.
They did not know they were 8 yards away from dying.
Yeah. So it felt like it wasn't going to be a split-second decision. It's just crazy. But yeah.
30-30.
So it was feeling hopeful because I was on fresh poop. I was putting on, I think like we averaged probably like 10 miles a day. Yeah. Some days it was close to 20. And that's what I was doing by myself too. Because again, I was like, if I'm not doing close to that, like I'm not doing enough. Out there? Yeah, exactly. Like everyone's come out here for me. I want this so bad. And I want to like also.
And you wanted it even more being by yourself.
I wanted it so much more being by myself.
We know.
I know. It's fine. It would have been fun to get it with you guys, but that time had come and passed. Like, that's over. Yeah.
But yeah, that last day that we were out there, like, it was kind of the same thing as the weekend before of like, okay, like, follow them in. Here's the track.
Make it happen.
And
we can't find them. We have to make it happen.
I felt so hopeful about the last day too, though, because it's like now I have more help. I have eyes that can watch if I bust them somewhere else. Rendell can sit somewhere else.
Well, the last day.
And it can happen so quickly.
Yes, the last
It's only
day,
24 hours.
When we got 8 yards,
12,
we were in the fresh shit and it was crusted over. Like it kind of had that hard crust. It's like, how fast does it crust over?
Yeah.
We had just stepped on a pile of buffalo shit and it had like a dark green crust.
But steamy.
And you step on it and then it's steamy.
Yeah.
But then that last day we were on it, it did not have a crust.
Well,
did not have a crust. It's like we are on them.
That whole last day just seemed like every freaking second, like you were on them. I mean, I remember I dropped you guys off. I went to look another ridge, come back through, and the area that I had just come back through, it's like
over the side track.
Somehow I've missed them in the last 15 minutes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally 15 minutes was when I was in this area, and they had to have moved in there, moved out before I came back into that area to just.
Tracks weren't running. They fed through there.
They fed through there.
Yeah, it wasn't a stampede of getting out of there.
I mean, you guys came back through that area that I dropped you off, and their tracks were over the top of your tracks.
Yeah, over the side-by-side tracks.
They were, and then we followed them again.
And then their tracks are on our boot tracks.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
It's like, at what point do we just sit down and watch them come back by?
And it's not like a whitetail or an animal
which
that you can just sit there and
happen because you're not following them. But.
Well, and not only that, but then wind comes into factor. Like, and you think how they were sending you guys when you guys were near there, you wouldn't think 15 minutes they're going to come back over the area we were just in.
Exactly.
Like, not a chance in hell are they going to come back through, or we just drove a side by side through. But sure enough, that's exactly what they did. Like, it was nuts to like. Because I drove down the road.
But it took us 2 hours to make that loop.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, it was almost like they were unfazed by us being there at the moment. But they have another sense of like, okay, this isn't a sense of something that was just here. This is a sense of like, they're on us right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, and obviously, I mean, sense different, and it's going to be a lot more strong when you're right there. But at the same time, it's almost like they have another instinct and they know that you're right there.
Just so wild to me.
Why did that bull push the cows up when you're 8 yards? Like, why can you not just casually get up out of your bed and give me a shot?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the rut is on and we're fighting and we're pushing.
It was so weird. Chill, one cow looking at me, and then all of a sudden they just start fighting.
It was cool.
And you say she's looking at you, but they didn't know.
I know, but there's a cow in my direction.
Yeah.
To where
is what
you
I mean,
don't feel
Cody.
like you can move. I get
Yeah.
that,
But again, we learned.
it's not like they pinned us.
I think you get so used to hunting like deer or elk that like their heads are up and they're watching you specifically.
Mhm.
Right.
Whereas these buffalo, it was just different.
Yeah. No, it was cool. That last day was a grinder, and I appreciate you coming out and helping with it for sure.
I wish we could have closed it.
I know.
I really wish we
me
could have
too.
closed it that last day.
It was filling, like I said, the last day.
Last day would have been awesome to just be like, we ground it out to the last hour and then shot one.
Because I said at the beginning of my hunt, I'm like, I want to enjoy this. Like, I want to soak up every freaking minute. And I might have spoke that into existence a little too hard.
Yeah.
Just
That's
a
probably
little.
what it was.
It was my fault. It was all my fault.
And the archery tag.
Yeah.
And I don't care. It would be so cool to do it with an archery. But the
there's a
last
reason that guns
The last
won.
few hours just stung. Driving away was like,
Well,
I haven't felt that depressed in
Yeah.
a really long
That
time.
was that was a quiet ride back to camp when like hunt was finally over and like I remember thinking
that's
like
done.
I remember thinking the hunt's over, but like could we still make it happen? Like, can we still somehow pull this off? But the hunt's over.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
It's hard too because like my competitive side is just like, I was telling Cooper this, I'm like, not to compare myself with like the world's best athletes or anything, but even like the guys that go to the Super Bowl and lose still have a chance
Put
that they
in just
might
as
be
much
able,
work as the winners.
right? And they also might have a chance to go back to the Super
Next
Bowl.
year. Like,
Yeah.
They,
Like I do not get to hunt that area with archery again.
not with that attitude. You got to put it out into
I
the
was
world.
like, what do I not know about? It's my attitude.
Yeah.
That sucks,
Remember how
because
you
it's
just
like-
talked about how you were putting things into the world?
Yeah.
You
No.
can't everybody.
But let me say this, Rendell. I know I'm gonna kill a buffalo somehow. It just sucks that it's not that herd that I put so much freaking work. I do think I'm gonna get a buffalo somehow, for sure. But it's you get what I'm saying? Like
Oh,
to
yeah.
put that much effort into something and never be able to. That sucks.
Only chance, like you can't draw that tag again.
That
You can't put
mentally
into that. Like you're done.
screws
Like,
me up.
But
Yeah.
also, you have the pride to know that you didn't just kill a buffalo. The 4 other hunters out there killed 3 cows and a 2-year-old bull.
Yeah.
The one.
You ate your tag, which
did.
I mean, it
But you did it with
sucks.
pride.
Would like to eat
Like-
one, but you were
I did.
selective.
I was selective, and I can own that for
Yeah.
sure.
Well,
And I have no problem saying that. But I will say it was hard to like.
And that comes with the risk of eating your tag.
It
Yeah.
does, but it's hunting.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, that's what I have is a tag to hunt, and that is
not
part
to
of
kill, like it's
Yeah.
to hunt.
it.
They don't send your tags pre-null.
Yeah. But not being able to have the meat really sucked. But and also just to like, I don't know. It's one thing to disappoint yourself, but like, there's a point where you feel like you're disappointing your family, and that
Now
kind
we've
of
got to
blows.
fill your freezer with ducks.
Ducks.
It's so much better.
No,
it's not.
I was like,
can't
I
back
want the
that up.
red meat.
I can't back
But
that
yeah.
up.
Oh,
That
your
duck's
phone's gonna
pretty
die.
good.
Well, we don't get Rendell's face anymore.
It's okay.
Why would you do that? Okay, well, I guess it's
Batteries are
just
dying.
us
I
looking
guess
at
we
each
gotta wrap
other.
it up.
Yeah, it's telling us to get it over with. It's 2 hours long.
Yep.
Well, thanks
2
for
hours and
coming
10
on.
minutes.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add to it, Rendell?
No.
I appreciate you guys
It was
and everyone that helped.
and I told you this out on the hunt, like the emotional experience of that hunt, like the way you grounded out and the way you just like stuck with it, I don't think I would have been that determined. Like there was plenty of times on that hunt that I think majority of the hunters and even myself, like, I'm done, guys. I'm going home. This is easy. Like, I'm quitting, because there were too many times that it would have been too easy just to give up, and you never did.
Or shot a cow.
Mm-hmm. Like, you stuck to it, and it was cool to see that. Like, to me, it would have been awesome to be successful, but
For
like,
sure.
to see you stick to your guns.
Everybody wants the biggest bull on the mountain, but there's also
There comes a time where
there's
everybody-
also a level of
Yep.
quit.
Yep, there's a level of quitting.
3 days left, I'm going to shoot a cow. Or I have 3 days left, I'm going to shoot a cow, or I'm done.
Yep. And
I don't
you
have
never
that
got to that
fight in me.
Like, you had the fight in you and the drive in you to like, I'm going to push this out. I'm going to do this.
And the support.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have gave up. I would have shot the cow the first time I had a chance. I'm going to sit here and talk big and tell you I'm going to shoot the biggest bull out there, and then I'll start getting shaky and excited. I get too trigger happy. I do. Like, there's 2 point and it's offside the road. I'm going to pack it out. Done.
No,
You talk a big game, but even you're not that guy.
Yeah.
You would have. I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot.
No,
Truly.
Like I said, the grit that you had through the whole hunt, like it says a lot about the character.
Well, thanks.
It's admirable.
Thank you, guys. Means a lot. With an empty freezer.
I still think you should have shot it with a rifle.
You what?
Still think you should have shot it with a rifle.
No. Well, maybe if I get one of these over-the-counter tags.
So
Then I'll do
Expo.
what Rendell says. Oh, Expo. I could win an Expo. Putting it out there. Everyone think well for me.
I will punch you.
attitude.
I'll punch you. You've got 2. Yours is
I have
out
another
right
With
there.
a rifle.
Not an expo tag.
But it would have been it's so much cooler with a bow. And now, see, again, I'm like, I want to get one with a bow.
Yeah, your pictures of
It's an
your buffalo with a
illegal
bow.
weapon hunt. You can
It's
bow
fucking
them.
cool.
Yeah.
And also, like, I hunted them with a bow. I want to kill them with a bow.
I hunted them with a pair of binoculars.
You should kill one with a pair of binoculars. Any legal weapon. Oh, damn it. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time to do this. It's been
Thanks
fun.
for
We'll have
having
to
me
have
here.
you back.
It was
You did
fun to
great.
go on the hunt with you, and
It was fun to have
It was
you.
super fun to be there. It was super fun to see that area you guys love so much, and get out there and learn it more. Like, it's definitely an area I want to take the family to.
Yeah, we'll have to take the families. We'll have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Get to know you a little more. That's where we should start. Give some good motivational advice. Thanks for letting my kids ride with you.
I have a lot of motivational advice.
Yeah, you do. Thanks for giving them all kinds of fun sayings to come home to.
What sayings?
Like, not with that attitude you can.
Yeah.
And we'll end it there. Thanks, Red.
Yep. Thanks for having me
Okay.
on.